The Hogwarts professor mixed into Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 601, Silencing Witnesses, Burning with Fury. London Temple, Master Lockhart. Don't worry. I believe that the group of fallen mages led by David will not escape. Sitting on a chair in the hall, Arnold picked up a cup of coffee and took a sip. Come on, let's talk about the dream world you mentioned last time. I'm a little curious, what kind of core can support the operation of the dream world? The dream world has arrived in London. There was a lot of noise, and the way it appeared made Arnold think more. I didn't think of it at the time, but after thinking about it carefully after returning, I felt more and more that Lockhart's dream world magic and the dimensional world of the dimensional demon god were similar in nature. It's just that one is short-lived, while the other is stable and long-lasting. Lockhart must have borrowed the dimensional world of the dimensional demon god. Arnold thought silently in his heart, and his interest became stronger. As a wizard of Kamar-Taj, how could he not be curious about the things of the dimensional gods? In fact, I can build a dream world, but it also depends on the help of the Supreme Master. Without hesitation, Lockhart covered himself with a tiger skin and said with a smile, "The dream world came to London, although it was short, but there would definitely be rumors. After all, the title of dimensional evil god is not good in Kamar-Taj. Even if it is a reference, there will definitely be people who will talk about it. After all, the development of the Vincian world to this point is still jealous. However, the title of the Supreme Master is still very useful." After briefly mentioning the Supreme Master, Arnold's expression on the opposite side changed slightly. Lockhart continued with satisfaction. "In fact, everyone can build a dream world. I have developed a complete set of plans. As long as there are dream seeds and they are cultivated according to the plan, everyone can create their own dream world." Dream seeds. Hearing this, Arnold muttered to himself, and Lockhart took a sip of the coffee in front of him. It was still the old plan. He once distributed dream seeds in the Harry Potter world and asked others to help cultivate them. They can create their own dream world. They collect energy, lay out dreams, and increase their strength. Lockhart naturally won't do these, but Lockhart accepted the information about the construction of dreams and the operation of dreams and used it to cultivate and optimize his own dream world. It's like someone helping you raise a child. For example, the Hogwarts dream world created by Dumbledore incorporates all the history of Hogwarts for thousands of years. This has greatly promoted the evolution of the dream world. In addition, the elite wizards of Hogwarts for thousands of years have added a lot of historical heritage. In the Marvel world, Lockhart will naturally not give up the same method. After all, this is a win-win solution for everyone. With his thoughts turning, Lockhart put down the coffee in his hand and raised his right hand slightly. A dream seed flashing with colorful colors floated above his palm. Feeling the familiar power of dreams, Arnold, the wizard opposite, smiled. Just as he was about to reach out to take it, suddenly, puff, with a slight puff, the dream seed shattered and turned into colorful light spots. At this moment, Lockhart's face suddenly became ugly. Just now, the spirit of dream sent a message. Wanda is on the verge of death. But, at the moment of dreaming about this kind of fragmentation, the colorful dream power gathered, and a portal opened. Arnold, the wizard on the opposite side, had no time to react, and saw several familiar bodies floating on the magic carpet in the sky across the portal. These are the wizards of Kamar-Taj. All dead. His face suddenly became ugly. Looking at the familiar faces in the dazzling red light, how could he not know that something had happened to Lockhart's disciple? At this moment, Lockhart did not say anything to Arnold. He walked directly into the portal, stood in the sky, and watched Wanda floating above the magic carpet, protected by a large amount of chaos magic. The breath was very weak. It can be seen with the naked eye that a lot of blood is flowing on the magic carpet. The dark red chaos magic keeps rolling, as if trying its best to help Wanda save her life. Seeing this scene, Lockhart's eyes were cold and his heart was burning with anger. He just felt a familiar energy from the dead Kamar-Taj wizard. Dusk power. Damn the fallen wizards. At this moment, Lockhart's anger was burning like crazy, and he wanted to tear the fallen wizards into pieces. Wanda was his most promising seedling, and he spent so many resources to cultivate her. If he died here today, he and these fallen wizards would fight to the death. The anger was burning, but Lockhart quickly suppressed the desire to kill. Closing his eyes, the majestic dream power, in response to the call of the spirit, flowed out quickly and enveloped the surroundings. From Wanda's body, a dark red dream book that was broken by the power of dusk slowly floated out. The book was very tattered, and even most of the pages were missing. If it weren't for the remaining dream power and the protection of chaos magic, I'm afraid the whole dream book would always be worn out by the power of dusk. Seeing this, Lockhart snorted coldly, and the majestic colorful dream power was poured into it, and the damaged dream book slowly began to repair. At the same time, phantoms appeared in the nearby area. The dream world is coming. At this moment, Master Arnold, like Lockhart, was also burning with anger. These are all the seedlings cultivated by the London Temple, and they are all battle mages, which can be called the backbone. Just like this, all of them died, and his anger was no less than Lockhart. Wanda's damaged dream book slowly began to repair, and the dream spirit read the remaining records in the book. Soon, it was like time was flowing backwards. Under the operation of the dream spirit, the illusory phantom began to stare, and time seemed to start flowing backwards, and various pictures kept emerging. Soon, the original Wanda's surprised cheers appeared in Lockhart's ears. The clues of the fallen mage were found, and the spatial coordinates were successfully extracted. Then, the defenseless Wanda opened the portal, and was about to go back, to report the good news. Then, a familiar scene appeared. The suggested mage stepped forward, and summoned the power of dusk to attack directly. The battle mage on the side, had no time to be alert to his companions around him. He was also attacked by magic, and died without any resistance. It seemed that they had been prepared for a long time. Then, the chaos magic in Wanda's body began to automatically repair its defenses in order to survive. This is what you see in front of you. The fallen mage who took action naturally wanted to kill them all. First, he prepared to defeat the chaos magic, and kill people to silence them. At the same time, other mages who chose to betray also started to attack the dream book next to Wanda. The dream book is the root of everything. The chaos magic is being consumed, and the dream book is being damaged. It seems that this group of fallen mages will succeed. However, it seems that they have sensed something and retreated quickly. Yes, Lockhart is out. They sense the abnormality in advance and chose to escape. Chapter 602, Scarlet Witch's Transformation, Colorful Chaos Magic. In the void, she was in a trance. There seemed to be colorful streams of light passing by, and crimson stars shining in the sky. Who am I? Where am I? What is happening now? Her consciousness was chaotic, and for some reason, she felt more pain in her heart, as if she had suffered some severe injury before. She had no strength in her body, and it seemed as if there was a hole somewhere in her body, constantly leaking out. Live. I want to live. Since she became a disciple, her superior and safe life has gradually made her relax her vigilance. She has classmates, friends, best friends, teachers, and even the extraordinary power of magic. This is the life that an orphan dreams of. She enjoyed it, and it was very good. It was so good that she temporarily forgot that in the past few years, she and her brother, two orphans, had struggled desperately in the chaotic city. I want to live, and I still have a brother to take care of. The desire for life became stronger and stronger, and a severe tingling sensation surged into her heart. The crimson chaotic magic power responded to the owner's desire, and began to stir, and the majestic colorful dream power was constantly infused into it. Mage's talent. Her talent that can rewrite fate and reality is also slowly running under her desire for life. Live. I want to live. The pure and strong desire for life stimulates Wanda's talent. Ding. It seems that a certain switch has been touched, and a sound that seems to be there and not there, seems to be nothing and not nothing, sounded from the depths of the soul. It seems that some opportunity has been touched, and the deep red chaos magic and the colorful dream power quickly merged. The dark red chaos magic that originally exuded a mysterious and changeable aura gradually became stained with a ray of colorful colors. The mysterious and changeable aura of chaos magic gradually became illusory and empty. It seems to be somewhat similar to the beginning of the fusion of dream power, but not completely. At this moment, Lockhart watched the dark red chaos magic on Wanda's body gradually turn into colorful colors, and his eyes were thoughtful. But his hand did not stop, waving the wand in his hand, controlling the dream power, and constantly infusing it into Wanda's body. The chaos magic had already been severely depleted before, and it was barely enough to maintain Wanda's life breath. What he was doing now was to provide Wanda with sufficient energy. What's more, Wanda was injured this time, and now the crisis has passed, and there is a trend of turning into opportunities. He can't let the transformation fail, because of a small problem like insufficient energy. At the same time, the magic wand in his hand waved quickly, and the majestic life energy in the sky continued to gather into green light spots. Tick, tick. The green light spots madly devoured the surrounding dream power, forming drops of green liquid with a strong breath of life. Then it dripped like rain and fell on Wanda's body. It seemed to sense the benefits of these life energies for injuries, or to say that the transformation into 7, the chaos magic was more spiritual, and began to slowly let go, allowing the rain of life to enter Wanda's wounds. It even automatically controlled a part of the chaos magic to be transformed into life force to assist in healing. It was as if it had some simple intelligence. At the same time, some life rain fell on the bodies of other Kamar-Taj wizards, and wisps of black smoke began to emerge. The life force and the dusk force collided with each other. Although the power of dusk is the power of the dimensional gods, it is small after all, and the backup of life force is endless. Soon, all the points are exhausted. The same is true in Wanda's body. The disappearance of the power of dusk makes the chaotic magic power have no obstacles to protect its owner. Coupled with the restoration of life force. At this moment, Wanda's consciousness gradually becomes clear. She remembered. She was attacked by surprise, and was almost on the verge of death. She even had no power to resist. She vaguely remembered the severe pain, the stimulating pain. Thinking back now, she still couldn't help trembling. Yes, the root of everything is the coordinates. It is the spatial coordinates that the enemy tried every means to hide. It is very likely the enemy's headquarters. Suddenly, Wanda thought of the root cause of the sneak attack. She began to struggle. He wanted to wake up, not only for revenge, but more importantly, to tell his mentor this news. The colorful chaotic magic seemed to sense Wanda's thoughts. Will is calling, and the colorful dream chaos magic prized talent to realize Wanda's wish. But, under the gaze of Lockhart and Arnold, Wanda's body suddenly glowed with colorful light. The surrounding area seemed to be rewritten, and it was more appropriate to say. Then, a pair of eyes glowing with colorful light slowly opened. Teacher. Wanda opened her eyes, and the first picture she saw was her mentor, and she couldn't help but shout. Then, she felt a little weak all over. Although her body had been repairing just now, it was still in a state of serious injury, and needed to be recuperated. But this forced awakening undoubtedly consumed a lot of chaos magic. Naturally, she felt that she couldn't use her strength all over. Lockhart saw that Wanda's body seemed to be a little limp, and he understood the root cause. Without hesitation, the power of dreams poured into Wanda's body again. And Wanda's body was now transformed by chaos magic. After seeing the chaos magic, it seemed like seeing a delicacy, and she couldn't help but feast on it. The magic was replenished quickly, and Wanda's breath also recovered quickly. Without Wanda's command or call, the chaos magic began to recuperate Wanda's body spontaneously. At this moment, Wanda felt full of strength and spiritual chaos magic. She had a feeling. It seemed that, as long as she had a slight thought, the magic would turn her thoughts into reality. It was like a wishing machine. Teacher. Wanda called again, and it seemed a little incredible. I feel like I have become stronger. It really felt like a dream. She was attacked by surprise. Not only did she not die, but she was not seriously injured. Instead, she became stronger. She felt that at this moment, she was at least 2 or 3 times stronger than before. It really was a blessing in disguise. No, teacher, I found the location of the fallen wizard. Wanda quickly came back to her senses and said quickly. Just now, she was obsessed with her transformation, and forgot the reason for waking up. Then, she moved her mind. Even without Wanda's active control, the colorful chaos magic spontaneously condensed into a ball of light and slowly floated towards Lockhart. This ball of light, which also glowed with colorful light, contained the spatial coordinate information that Wanda had collected before. At this moment, after Lockhart received the spatial coordinate information and the ball of light, a cold and cruel smile appeared on his face. The other party had thought very carefully, and even almost completely consumed the dream book, so the information coordinates obtained were incomplete. However, this time, the other party could not escape. Wanda, you go back, and have a good rest first. I'll be back later. Chapter 603 Asgard Rainbow Bridge, Mephisto. Castle at dusk. Outside the castle, an energy storm swept the entire space. Inside the castle, the atmosphere was extremely serious and cold. Mora, do you mean that Lockhart's people may have discovered our location? David looked at the mage Mora, who had just rushed back from the opposite side, and said coldly, with a hint of dissatisfaction that could not be suppressed in his words. The mage Mora on the opposite side could only nod helplessly. When he found that the spatial coordinates were suspected to be leaked, he immediately attacked Wanda and killed all the London Temple mages present, and even the Book of Dreams was erased as much as possible. He asked himself that he had done everything to the extreme. But there was no way. There was only one step away from completely solving the culprit Wanda, but the support from the opposite side arrived. What can he do? If he doesn't leave, he will be caught, and by then, the information leaked will probably be even more. Now he is just looking forward to Wanda, and it would be best if he can't save her. As long as a person dies, it doesn't matter whether the coordinates are leaked or not. Theoretically, it's possible. Mage Mora couldn't help but defend himself, but in fact, almost everyone has been dealt with. The only one who didn't have time to attack was also seriously injured and is basically not far from death. After hearing this, David not only did not relax, but his expression became more solemn. He already had a vague feeling that something bad was going to happen. His mental power had undergone a transformation. His intuition was far superior to that of ordinary mages. He had a vague warning of what was going to happen next. His intuition told him that it was not going to be good. Retreat, all mages, evacuate, go to the safe house. Without hesitation, David gave the order directly. However, the fallen mages around were a little puzzled when they heard David's direct evacuation order. He didn't even fight, but ran away directly. Was he too timid? You go first. I'll leave a gift for the London Temple and Lockhart. David naturally understood the mentality of the other fallen mages, and after explaining it, he turned and left. The purpose of this group of mages gathering together was for chaos magic or to become dimensional gods. Kamar-Taj naturally would not allow it, so they could only choose to defect. So their union is close, but also loose. The closeness lies in that they have a strict magic contract to guarantee the interests of everyone. And the looseness lies in that each of them has his own ideas more or less. And being able to defect from Kamar-Taj, the strength is naturally not weak. The weak cannot join them. Everyone can play a lot of roles, and they are a typical alliance of the strong. I just hold the biggest and most valuable thing in my hand, so I was elected as the leader. There are not many real confidant and trustworthy mages. So, for them, as long as there is a suitable reason, everyone has the same goal, and naturally they will do their best. Otherwise, the magic contract is not vegetarian. This is a contract with a death witness. Even the dimensional gods are difficult to erase. Sure enough, when the other fallen mages saw that the leader David had made up his mind, they nodded and cast magic to leave. The reason why they chose this leader was, on the one hand, that he did hold something very valuable in his hand, and on the other hand, it was indeed because the other party had great means. Even the original power of the dimensional gods was obtained. How could the means be bad? What's more, if he dares to cooperate with a demon god like Mephisto, he is not afraid of being swallowed by the other party. If he is not a fool, he must have other plans. In this unknown space, energy surged and gathered into a storm, sweeping all areas. Calmness is only temporary, chaos is permanent. At this moment, in this space, in a chaotic area, a colorful stream of light slowly emerged. The moment the stream of light emerged, the violent energy around seemed to be filtered or tamed, and generally began to stabilize slowly. As the colorful streams of light became more and more, the nearby area seemed to be as peaceful and calm as the real world. The power of dreams. The dream world is coming. It's still the same method, but it's still so practical. Replace the space through dreams, and suppress the chaos. Soon, a door in the dream realm accompanied by colorful streams of light suddenly opened. 3 figures walked out of it. 2 men and 1 woman, both old and young. It was Arnold, Lockhart, and Wanda. Just after entering this space, he sensed a familiar energy fluctuation faintly emanating from the space. Lockhart showed a cold smile on his face. The power of dusk. It seems that this is the opponent's lair. Then, without saying anything to the two, he raised his right hand and stretched it out to the left front. In this position, in his perception, the power of dusk is the strongest. In an instant, colorful streams of light quickly moved along the direction where Lockhart stretched out his hand. In less than half a minute, a bridge with colorful streams of light appeared in the eyes of Wanda and others. It was like a rainbow bridge. Yes, this is also the dream magic that Lockhart studied to get close to Asgard's Rainbow Bridge. The name is Rainbow Bridge. The 3 of them stood on the bridge without moving. However, the colorful bridge under their feet quickly took them forward and continued to extend. It seemed to take them to a certain destination. Soon, in their eyes, a castle with a strong dusk atmosphere appeared. Looking at this dusk castle, Areluo, the guardian wizard of the temple, was thoughtful. Buzz. A subtle humming sound was heard, and the colorful bridge slowly stopped, standing not far from the dusk castle. He did not prepare to go in directly. He was not stupid. This castle was obviously the territory of the fallen wizard. If they did not arrange something inside, they would be really stupid. Standing on the rainbow bridge where the power of dreams gathered, Lockhart looked at the dusk castle opposite with indifference. He raised the magic wand in his hand slightly and pointed it at the dusk castle opposite. The next moment, boom. The majestic power of dreams, as if encountering some kind of wonderful chemical reaction, began to boil, and its properties changed rapidly. Strong information such as violence, destruction, damage, tearing, etc. continued to pour in. With a loud noise in his throat, the rainbow bridge directly condensed into a huge colorful beam of light, which shot towards the castle. Yes, the Asgard rainbow bridge can not only be used for teleportation, but more importantly, it is also a powerful weapon against the enemy. Destroying the planet is easy after all. Lockhart borrowed from the rainbow bridge, and naturally he would not forget its offensive ability. But, as if sensing the powerful attack, a dark yellow defense shield immediately appeared on the surface of the ancient Twilight treasure. However, facing the violent colorful light column, with a bang, the dark yellow defense shield initially resisted. But as the energy continued to intensify, it became more and more violent. In less than half a minute, with a bang, the defense shield shattered, and then, the destructive colorful light column directly blasted into the Twilight castle. Boom. The castle shattered, smoke filled the air, and a large amount of stone was built around. However, Lockhart's face did not show any stars, but became a little serious. Because, in the center of the entire castle, he saw 2 familiar figures, very familiar. It was the stench of hell, no doubt. Lockhart, you have a really bad temper. You really should change it. As a human being, you still have to keep your temper. It was the evil god of hell, Mephisto. Chapter 604, Unbreakable Vow, a gift to Mephisto. Mephisto. Sure enough, this group of fallen wizards and the evil gods of hell are mixed together. When Master Arnold saw Mephisto, his pupils shrank, and he thought silently in his heart. He said, why are the frequency of hell monsters appearing in London and nearby areas so high? And there is no trace of them. This group of damn fallen wizards not only betrayed Kamar-Taj, but also betrayed mankind and the earth. At the same time, the hanging ring in his hand glowed with a faint red flame. He raised his hand slightly, as if he was always ready to fight. Wanda on the side was the same. Originally, the teacher asked her to go back and cultivate well. After all, she had just recovered from a serious injury. But Wanda felt that everything was fine, and she was full of hatred for the fallen wizard who attacked her and her companions. She would naturally not give up. And Lockhart, of course, knew that Wanda's strength would be even higher after the transformation, and he did not refuse. It just happened to let Wanda vent her anger at being attacked, and by the way, see her current true strength. Mephisto? Lockhart sneered coldly, you really only remember to eat, and not to be beaten. The Supreme Sorcerer has just taught you a lesson. How dare you show up again? I wonder how many clones you plan to sacrifice this time. How many origins will you cut? Kamar-Taj has to thank you for your contribution. Recently, there are a lot more magical materials in the Sorcerer's secret realm. Hearing Lockhart's sarcasm, Mephisto's eyes twitched, but he suppressed his anger and said calmly, don't worry, it's just a few origins. Consider it a gift to the Supreme Sorcerer. For gods like us with infinite lifespans, if the origin is lost, it is lost, but it will only take time to accumulate. At this point, although Mephisto looked calm on the surface, he still twitched in pain. In theory, it is true that it can be accumulated over time. But the previous losses must have taken hundreds or thousands of years. The loss was huge. It's not like he has no enemies in hell. Why did he show up on Earth again during this period of time? Isn't it just to get back the money as soon as possible? At least to save up a portion of the origin? Otherwise, do you really think the Supreme Mage's knife is not sharp? After hearing this, Mage David on the side couldn't help but flash a trace of eagerness in his eyes. It's good to be a latitude god. As long as the original body is fine, no matter how many problems there are, time can make it back. Even the Supreme Mage can be outlasted. Humph. Lockhart snorted coldly, but did not take action directly. Instead, he continued to mock. I didn't expect that Mephisto is so pathetic that he wants to get involved with this group of traitors. What a loss. He said to David on the side, David, if I were you, you must be careful when cooperating with Mephisto. Mephisto is probably in great need of the power of origin now. The power of the God of Dusk in your hand is a great supplement for him. At this point, Lockhart smiled. If he continues to seduce souls, I don't know how many souls he will seduce, and he will also risk being caught by the Supreme Sorcerer. But if he robs your power of origin, there is no risk. It will not win the attention of the Supreme Sorcerer. If I were you, I would make sure that Mephisto would not do anything to me. Hearing this, David on the side looked moved, but did not say anything. Mephisto's actions may have been what he had not thought about. After all, this guy is typical, eating meat without spitting out bones. However, the next moment, his pupils shrank, seeing Lockhart waving the wand in his hand. In the air, a series of complex rune patterns with golden light appeared instantly. At the same time, Lockhart's voice came faintly, I'll give you a spell. Unbreakable oath. Look carefully, the Supreme Master once said that, as long as the dimensional gods are willing to take out their own blood of origin, even after death, this contract is unbreakable. At this point, Lockhart added again, it would be better to have another witness of death to prove that his blood of origin is real and effective. The London Temple Guardian Mage Jared on the side couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he heard Lockhart's enthusiastic suggestion. Provoking, this is naked provocation. This is not a gift, it is clearly a split potion. After hearing this, David on the opposite side couldn't help but show his intention on his face and glanced at Mephisto next to him. Even a fool knows that this is Lockhart's conspiracy. It shouldn't be said to be an open conspiracy. But he needs such a guarantee too much. However, he was not stupid enough to talk about this with Mephisto on the spot. His brain was working fast, memorizing the spell that appeared in the air in the depths of his mind. Mephisto, who was standing next to him, did not speak after seeing David's action. If he spoke at this time, he would fall into Lockhart's trap. No, Lockhart could not speak out anymore. Just as he was about to make a move, he heard Lockhart's voice again. Mephisto, you are not unwilling to sign a contract with our substitute wizard, are you? Could it be that you really want to attack him from behind? But, great, what a great assist. Although he and Lockhart were enemies, David still cheered in his heart. He could not open his mouth to ask for the continuation of the contract. But if Lockhart spoke, it would be different. If Mephisto did not give an answer, it would prove that he had something to hide. And if he had to give an answer, he could only choose to sign the contract. In any case, for him, there was no loss. Lockhart, has anyone ever told you that your mouth is no worse than the devil in hell when it comes to stirring up trouble? Mephisto said, come on, if you enter hell, I believe becoming a god is absolutely no problem. Then, looking at David on the side, he said soothingly, Master David, the two parties in cooperation must have trust. Signing a contract is a guarantee for both of us. Of course there is no reason to refuse, but we still have to teach Lockhart and the London Temple a lesson. At this point, Mephisto stood on the ruins of the Dusk Castle, and a large area of dark fog spread out behind him. It exuded the breath of evil, killing, and destruction. The dark fog gradually condensed and turned into a variety of ferocious hell demons and beasts. Master David on the side heard Mephisto's promise. Naturally, he was also happy in his heart. Without hesitation, he waved the hanging ring in his hand. A large amount of black chaos magic emerged. Yes, he has switched to chaos magic. Of course, the magic power in his body has also been transformed into chaos magic. Chapter 605 Dream Body, Dream Invasion. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The violent energy storm set off a storm in this space. However, a rainbow bridge of 7 colors can be vaguely seen across the entire space. The energy near the rainbow bridge is unusually stable. Following the rainbow bridge, the endpoint is at the center of this space. Here, the colorful dream colors are intertwined with the diffuse black fog, and the red flame magic light is constantly flickering like stars. It seems to be expelling darkness, or fighting a certain battle. Soul Flame. London Temple Master Arnold waved the hanging ring in his hand and cast his best soul magic. I saw some illusory soul flames condensed from the shape of a phoenix, and flew towards the black fog on the opposite side. There was no sound in my ears, but the sound of a phoenix's cry unconsciously sounded in the depths of the souls of everyone present. Wanda, who was playing as an auxiliary nearby, felt at peace. But the target of this phoenix, the fallen wizard David, felt upset, as if some kind of flame was rising in his heart. Whoosh, whoosh. The dark chaos magic, as the hands swung together, constantly turned into various ropes to entangle the phoenix that was rushing towards him, trying to assimilate, erode, and engulf. It must be said that the chaos magic is really powerful. Soul Flame, as Alad is best at, is also the most offensive and difficult to avoid magic. However, with the strong assimilation and covering effect of the dark chaos magic, at a speed visible to the naked eye, the surface of this slightly illusory red flame phoenix gradually turned black. The phoenix was struggling, and the flames on its body continued to burn and boil, trying to expel these dark magics. Every time a rope burned, the second and third ropes rushed towards him. Soon, the phoenix itself was tied up by a large number of ropes. Under David's gaze, this soul flame condensed the phoenix, and the whole body turned black. Then, it flew towards his original master Arnold. At this moment, Wanda saw an ugly look on the old man's face. Raising the magic wand in his hand, colorful chaos magic gushed out, and colorful beam ropes, like a swimming dragon, rushed towards the flying phoenix. It seemed that he wanted to reproduce the battle scene just now, and regain control of the soul phoenix. However, when the colorful chaos magic rope just bound the black phoenix, David showed a cold smile on his face not far away. The next moment, boom. A deafening sound sounded, and the dark phoenix exploded with a bang, and a large amount of black soul flames quickly splashed around. Then, under David's control, the soul flames with a strong dark aura condensed into black fireballs, shooting towards Wanda and Arnold. Seeing this scene, Arnold's pupils shrank. He stretched out his hand to pull Wanda aside and retreat. Soul flames have no heat. It will not even have any effect on matter. It can't even ignite wood, and even water can't evaporate a bit. But compared to its inability at the material level, the damage to the spirit and mind is indeed extremely powerful. Even if it is only a trace of it, it is difficult to remove it without targeted means. This trick is very practical for dealing with monsters invading the dimension. Compared with their strong bodies, their souls are much weaker. Unless they are gifted, it is difficult to resist the attack of the soul flame. In the end, only a body is left, becoming Arnold's trophy. Knowing the power of the soul flame, Arnold will naturally not be a brainless version of the direct confrontation. prepare to pull Wanda aside and evacuate to a safe place and then rework. To be honest, he felt that Lockhart was still a little reckless. He knew that there might be a fierce battle, but he still called his students up. Now he can't deal with David wholeheartedly. However, the next scene made the guarding wizard a little stunned. When he just reached out to grab Wanda, he felt that his right hand fell in the air in an instant. Wanda's whole body was exposed to the 7-color illusory color, and his arm went straight through like a phantom without any hindrance. More importantly, he seemed to be unable to feel any energy fluctuations or breath from Wanda. It was as if Wanda at the moment was just an illusion, a phantom. His arm passed through Wanda's body, and then Wanda grabbed Darnold's arm with the backhand. The colorful chaotic magic light flowed and enveloped the bodies of the two. In an instant, the figures of the two were looming, like an illusion. Dream body. A large number of dark soul fireballs flew towards the two people quickly. Seeing this, Darnold subconsciously wanted to avoid it. But Wanda on the side shook her head slightly at him, as if to indicate that he didn't need to worry. But Darnold didn't give up the habit of putting his life in the hands of the other party. The ring in his hand moved quickly, but he was shocked to find that, apart from the colorful illusory light on his arms, he couldn't cast any magic at all, and it seemed that he couldn't sense the magic in his body. To be more precise, he sensed the magic, but couldn't control it. This made Darnold look ugly. However, he didn't have time to think too much, because the dark soul fireballs were already rushing towards him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The fireball went straight through the illusory body, seemingly without any hindrance. This surprised Darnold. Next, dark fireballs continued to pass through his and Wanda's bodies, seemingly unable to cause any damage. Darnold had to admit that he seemed to have underestimated this student of Lockhart. David on the opposite side saw this scene and frowned tightly. Then, he saw the two colorful illusory figures walking towards him step by step. He tried to call on the chaos magic to attack and transform it into various tools and monsters, but it didn't work at all. He cast all kinds of magic, even curses, but it still couldn't stop the opponent's progress. The two colorful illusory figures seemed to be invulnerable to all kinds of magic. David's magic had almost no effect. Even if he enveloped the two with pure dark chaos magic, he could only watch them walk towards him. Lockhart, this student of yours is interesting. On another battlefield, Mephisto looked at David's battlefield, stared at Wanda deeply, and commented to Lockhart. The combination of dreams and chaos magic has a sense of illusion and infinity. Great potential, great potential. At this point, Mephisto couldn't help but reveal greed in his words. This young girl has great potential. If I could get her soul. TSK TSK TSK. Thinking of this, Mephisto felt a little hot in his heart. Mephisto, in that case, come and comment on my magic. Dream invasion. And the center of this space. Chapter 606 Mephisto's hellish dream system reappears. The sunlight does not seem to belong to hell. The sun in the sky is dark red, the light is dim, and on the ground, there are only greystones and skeletons. No vegetation, not even a blade of grass. The sand here seems to have been exposed to the sun for a long time, and each one is dark red, as if iron has rusted. However, hell is not desolate. From time to time, you can see skeletons and corpses on the ground, as well as transparent ghosts floating around. Of course, there are definitely hell demons. They are hunting, they are killing, and they enjoy despair. Lockhart stood high in the sky, looking at this dream hell belonging to Mephisto. This world is an illusory dream, which was constructed by Lockhart using the original power of the dream world to invade Mephisto's mind. Fortunately, Mephisto only came with a clone, and fortunately he had the original power of the god of dreams in his hands. Otherwise, there is really no way to enter Mephisto's memory world. After all, the other party is a well-known evil god of hell. However, time is also very tight. If Mephisto reacts, then this opportunity will be wasted in vain. Looking up, Lockhart looked up into the sky. There were no stars in the sky of hell, but there was a grey-white moon. No, it couldn't be called a moon, it should be called a grey-white continent. It was just too far away, so it looked a bit like a moon. And this continent was the territory of Mephisto. He stood high in the sky, overlooking his own dimension of hell as a master. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the sky of hell, it seemed that there was a strong wind blowing all the time, preventing flying monsters from passing through. It seemed that this was the first obstacle to entering Mephisto's grey-white continent. People with weak strength only had the qualification to watch, not the right to enter. But this was no obstacle for Lockhart, and his body glowed with colorful light. The next moment, the figure slowly disappeared, and Lockhart's figure appeared again in the sky above the grey-white continent. This time, Lockhart set his sights on the central building of this continent. This was a huge, towering palace, the Palace of Mephisto, the demon god of hell. The entire palace was made of black rocks and lava, and the surface exuded black flames with a dark and evil aura. It can be seen with the naked eye that around this palace, a large number of hellish monsters are working like slaves. Most of them have black chains hanging around their necks, and are whipped by some demons who serve as management from time to time. Here, it seems that a lot of despair, wailing, depravity and other negative auras are emanating all the time. And in the square directly in front of the palace, there is a flag that towers into the sky. This flag is bright blood red, as if there is blood flowing in all the time. It is constantly devouring all the negative emotional energy nearby. Looking at the scene in front of him, Lockhart was thoughtful. This is Mephisto's hell dimension. It is worthy of being hell. The means are really dark enough. Torture it, and even the negative emotions emitted by the other party must be devoured. It's really skinning and bone pulling, not a waste at all. The thought flashed silently in his mind, and Lockhart slowly landed in front of the palace gate. The surrounding hell demons seemed to be unaware. Lockhart naturally didn't care, and stepped directly into the huge palace. The layout of the palace is intricate, with maze-like corridors and a vast number of rooms. It seems that, if you are not careful, you will get lost. However, this is not a problem for Lockhart, as a dream invader, and one of the creators of this dream. He knows very well where Mephisto, the original owner of this dream, is. He walked forward slowly for a few steps, and his figure gradually disappeared. He passed through the wall, the corridor, the room, and the space, and reached the depths of the palace. The deepest part of the palace is a hot lava ocean, and in the center of the ocean stands a throne. On the throne, sat a tall figure. The figure is different from the old man who appeared on the earth. Like a giant beast, it is ferocious and ferocious. Tall, exuding a dark and evil aura, his skin is pitch black, and his body is covered with hard scales like black rocks. There is a pair of huge dark red horns on his head, and his face is covered by a black mask. There is a pair of huge black wings on both sides of his body. Each wing has sharp barbs. On the right side of the throne, there is a black book with an evil aura floating. The Book of Hell. It is also the central treasure that controls the entire dimension of hell. It contains all the information of the entire region. It is the most precious and valuable treasure of Mephisto. Of course, the Book of Hell here cannot control the entire dream region. But in this dream, it symbolizes Mephisto's memory, knowledge, experience, and so on. This is Lockhart's goal. This time, Mephisto came to Earth. No matter what, it was just a clone, and it would not matter if he was really killed. What is really valuable is Mephisto's memory, the knowledge he has mastered, and so on. This is the accumulation of a lifetime of an evil god. Even if it is incomplete, its value is not concealed. At this moment, Lockhart slowly floated beside the throne, looking at Mephisto, who closed his eyes and was in a sleeping state. There was no movement. This Book of Hell is definitely the most core treasure of Mephisto. Any abnormality will trigger the other party to wake up. At that time, not only will there be a backlash of broken dreams, but Mephisto will also try every means to hunt him down. However, since Lockhart chose to invade Mephisto's dream, he naturally has the corresponding means. And Lockhart's plan is, system, let's make a deal. I'll give you the soul of Dormammu, the god of darkness, and the soul of Mephisto, the evil god of hell. I only want one thing, that is all the memories of Mephisto. Yes, no matter what, Mephisto is also a veteran evil god of hell. He used the power of the origin of dreams to put Mephisto into a sleeping state, which is already the limit. Do you really think these gods have no means of defense for their souls? Therefore, for the current Lockhart, if he wants to obtain Mephisto's memory, he can only rely on external, super limited power. For Lockhart, the first choice is of course the Supreme Sorcerer. However, it is too late now, and the Supreme Sorcerer may not agree to help. After all, some things in Mephisto's memory are taboo knowledge. Do you think the Supreme Sorcerer will give it to him? In addition, Lockhart can also rely on the second super limited power. That's the system. Out of inner caution and fear of forcing things, Lockhart did not rely too much on the power of the system. After all, a free lunch often has a price that fate has secretly marked. Therefore, Lockhart will never let the system intervene if he can do it himself. But now, he needs the help of the system. And he also has the price to pay to the system. God knows, during the Dimensional Invasion War, Lockhart took the opportunity to destroy the soul of Dormammu, the god of darkness. The system is so eager that it basically reminds you every few minutes. However, Lockhart did not agree. It stayed at a critical moment as the price of the transaction. Now it seems just right. As Lockhart stated his request, there was silence for 2 or 3 seconds. A message came from the depths of the soul. Ding, for the cultivation of the host. The system will assist the host in obtaining the memory knowledge of the evil god of hell. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 607 System Reward, Devouring Mephisto. The system is a good thing. Lockhart must admit that, if it weren't for the existence of the system, he would have the confidence to become a powerful wizard. But there is no doubt that the time consumed would increase significantly, and even the probability of success would be much lower. However, no matter how good things are, they are not free. There is no such thing as a free lunch, and you will always have to pay something. If you want to take shortcuts, you must take risks. Lockhart was very clear about this in his previous life. The initial weakness forced Lockhart to rely on the system. The benefits and advantages that the system can bring really made Lockhart dumbfounded. Let's not talk about the world shuttle, let's talk about the function of the lottery. It can completely turn any unarmed waste into a powerful person who dominates the world. Of course, Lockhart doesn't know whether there is a limit to the lottery. Lockhart is very clear that the energy that is completely given by the system is too risky. If it can be given to you, it means that it can also be taken back. So Lockhart instinctively feels repulsive to such power. So in terms of strength, he chooses to practice and research as much as possible. Of course, Lockhart will not give up because of the stalk, and he will not give up when he needs the system. Although the benefits of shuttling between the two worlds are not as obvious as the lottery, it is not bad in reality. This allows Lockhart to absorb the essence of the two worlds and embark on a path of strength. Just like the dream world route that Lockhart is studying now, it is inseparable from the help of the Supreme Sorcerer and the resources of the Harry Potter world. Not to mention the two worlds, the different magic systems, and various resources. In this way, Lockhart will walk more smoothly on the road of magic. Just like now, with the help of the Harry Potter world and Kamar-Taj, he has built his own world of all things. Massive resources are constantly flowing into his hands, and many wizards, and scientists have contributed to his path of magic research. These, without the function of shuttling between the two worlds, would never have happened. Not to mention anything else, Lockhart, the first pot of gold was still the potion of the Harry Potter world. At the beginning of the development of the world of all things, it was inseparable from the magic materials, magic items, potions, etc. of the Harry Potter world. There is also a power that Lockhart can trust, just like students cannot do without the Harry Potter world. Although the effect of the two-world shuttle is not as obvious as the lottery, it undoubtedly gives Lockhart a great guarantee. At least, most of Lockhart's strength is obtained by his own practice. Lockhart feels more at ease with the lottery. Even if he leaves the system, he has the confidence to learn magic again. Of course, is there a price to use the two-world shuttle or the system? Lockhart is very self-aware of this. Therefore, he has been preparing for it a long time ago. If he can pay the price in advance in the form of a transaction, or better cooperation between the two parties, Lockhart is naturally eager for it. But if, in another unfriendly way, Do you really think that Lockhart, who has gathered so many wizards, sorcerers, and scientists, is just for nothing? He may succeed, but he is sure to fail. At this moment, when Lockhart heard the system's reply, a smile appeared on his face unconsciously. At least for now, the system still agrees to this transaction. Without hesitation, Lockhart thought about it, and relaxed the suppression of the soul of Dormammu, the god of darkness. Instantly, the system seemed to sense it, and swallowed it in one breath. Ding, absorbing the god-level soul. Soul division, absorbing energy, absorbed successfully, obtained the power of the origin of darkness. Ding, the host can choose one of the rewards below. 1. You can specify a target object to devour the soul once. 2. Obtain a portion of the power of the origin of darkness. 3. Obtain the coordinates of the dark latitude, some memories of the dark god Dormammu, and a god-level disguise. The system listed 10 rewards. Lockhart glanced at them, set his eyes on the first one, and raised his mouth slightly. In the end, he still recognized it, although the other rewards seemed very good. Especially the third one, which allowed Lockhart to obtain a disguise, as well as memories and coordinates. It seemed that the prospects were very impressive. However, a bird in the hand is worth 100 birds in the forest. Lockhart did have Dormammu's memories. The most important thing now was Mephisto. Choose reward 1, target object, Mephisto. Since he had decided, Lockhart did not hesitate. Directly designated Mephisto, who was still in deep sleep. Ding, reward 1 confirmed. Rewards being distributed. Target object, Mephisto, is in a state of soul slumber. Macro, being devoured. When the system's information appeared in his mind, in an instant, Lockhart felt a powerful force, which merged into the dream world in front of him. At lightning speed. In just 2 or 3 seconds, Lockhart found that this force tried to seize his authority in the dream world. However, he did not stop it, but let go, and let the system control it. The power did not seem to be strong, but it gave Lockhart a very deep feeling. In just 2 or 3 seconds, it had already digested his control over the dream world. At the same time, a large number of black cracks began to appear in the sky above the entire dream hell. It seemed that the entire dream was torn apart. The colorful dream power was flashing, trying to make up for this tear, or to preserve the integrity of the dream. It seemed that the effect was average. As soon as the dream power touched the black crack, it disappeared directly, as if it was also swallowed. However, the ground of the dream hell and the demons and other creatures on it, like an eraser, they disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye, as if they did not exist at all. The dark red sun became dim, as if it had lost the support of some kind of energy. The gray-white continent above the sky gradually became dark. Everything was shaking, breaking, and disappearing. Lockhart sensed everything in front of him, and his heart was silent. He focused his eyes on Mephisto in front of him. The entire dream world was shrinking, and it was surrounded by darkness. Only this palace was left. According to common sense, Mephisto should wake up with such a big commotion. However, Mephisto seemed to be unaware of anything, and was still sleeping. This made Lockhart secretly marvel in his heart. The system is really amazing. I didn't interfere with the dream too much before, mainly because I was afraid of waking up Mephisto. As a result, when the system came, it almost swallowed up more than half of the entire dream, and Mephisto didn't feel anything at all. At the same time, Lockhart clearly sensed a strange and weird energy, which was like a cloud and mist. These energies seemed to have life, automatically flowing into Mephisto's body. Gradually, Mephisto's body began to become somewhat illusory. It seemed to be disappearing, or digesting, and Mephisto, like a prey that was not aware of it at all, fell into a deep sleep, and allowed himself to be devoured. The figure became more and more illusory, and the soul was gradually devoured and digested. At the moment of complete disappearance, the danger of death instantly awakened Mephisto. He stared at Lockhart opposite him. His eyes were cold, mixed with a hint of horror. Then, buzz. The dream was shattered, and Mephisto, the split soul, died. Chapter 608 The Key to Becoming a Dimensional God. Hell Dimension, Gray and White Continent. Just like the Hell and Dreams, a huge palace stands in the center of the gray and white continent in the sky. The palace is made of black rocks and lava, with black flames wrapped around the surface, exuding an evil and dark atmosphere at all times. It is Mephisto's palace. Deep in the palace, it is still the same as the hell in dreams. In the center of a hot lava ocean, Mephisto sits on the throne. But unlike the dream, Mephisto is frowning and checking his book of hell. Some time ago, he joined forces with several beings of the same level to deal with the Supreme Mage. As a result, there were 7 or 8 when he went, but only 3 came back. Most of the gods were lost in the hands of the Supreme Mage. In other words, all the original gods who came were basically dead. Only those who were more cautious like Mephisto chose to split their souls and carry a large amount of origin to fight. The result was naturally the same, losing their lives on the spot and their origins were taken away. Mephisto was lucky enough to save his life, but the origins of the regional dimension were missing a lot. It is more appropriate to say that he was severely damaged. Now, he was thinking through the Book of Hell about how to make more origins appear in the regional dimension as soon as possible and restore his strength. Of course, he also tried every means to start from the outside world. For example, he contacted some fallen mages and tried to get back some origins from them or through their channels. However, these were all soul-dividing treatments, but he didn't care. What he was thinking about now was whether to start a dimensional war and fight with other hell dimensions. He would grab as much as he could. After all, he was an old god. Even if he lost a lot of dimensional origins, he still had the confidence to gain the upper hand in the battles with some gods who were not good at fighting. If it didn't work, he could also use strategic blackmail. After all, the fact that he and others suffered losses at the hands of the Supreme Mage had not yet spread. In the impression of other gods, he was famous for his cunning and cruelty. He was proud of this. It was possible that some gods would choose to pay some compensation in order to avoid the dimensional war as much as possible. This was not impossible. As his thoughts turned, various strategies appeared in Mephisto's mind. Damn. His fingers tapped the Book of Hell in front of him lightly. Mephisto fell into deep thought. No matter what, he would start a new bloody battle in hell and raise a few demons with good combat power to serve as the vanguard. Thinking in his heart, Mephisto gradually came up with a plan. Without hesitation, just when he was about to use the Book of Hell to start the bloody battle, suddenly, puff, in an instant, Mephisto spat out a mouthful of black blood and his face became extremely ugly. Gilderoy Lockhart. His soul on Earth was destroyed again. It was not the Supreme Sorcerer who did it, but an ordinary wizard. Yes, except for the Supreme Sorcerer, the rest of the wizards were not worth mentioning in Mephisto's eyes. After all, they all relied on the power of Vishanti. To put it bluntly, they were Vishanti's believers. Except for the Supreme Sorcerer who had eternity as a background. Mephisto really didn't care about the others. However, indeed, the more Mephisto recalled the scene of the demise of his soul, the more puzzled he became. Close your eyes and keep digging out the remaining memories of the last time. The power of the origin of dreams, the unlucky god of nightmares. It is normal for it to work on me. But if I were in danger, I would have reacted. But my death was silent. If I hadn't been alert, I would have known nothing at the moment of death. This kind of power cannot be possessed by ordinary wizards. It is possible for the Supreme Wizard to take action. Gilderoy Lockhart. What is special about him? Suddenly, Mephisto thought of Dormammu, the god of darkness. He was just like himself, and he didn't fall into the hands of the Supreme Wizard because of his caution. Yes, he paid close attention to Lockhart. This guy is born greedy and will not get up early without profit. There must be a secret in Lockhart, and it is probably not small. When he thought of this, Mephisto's eyes showed greed. Ruins of the Dusk Castle. Wanda and Arnold, two colorful phantoms, slowly flew towards him, and David, the fallen wizard opposite, cast all kinds of chaos magic. As the dark chaos magic continued to boil, all kinds of attacks passed through the two phantoms. However, it seemed that the two were not in the same space at all. No matter how David tried, he could not hurt Wanda and Arnold at all. Looking at the two people getting closer and closer, he was also retreating rapidly. He tried to stop them in every way, but he didn't get any results. His face became ugly, and he turned his head to look at Mephisto not far away. He found that Lockhart and Mephisto were staring at each other, motionless. Arnold's thoughts turned, and his transformed mental power seemed to convey some bad premonition to him. This time, he pulled Mephisto with him, and also wanted to take the opportunity to teach the wizards of the London Temple a lesson. After all, both parties are now cooperating. In any case, it was his first call, and Mephisto had to show some sincerity. If he could take the opportunity to kill Lockhart, it would be great. In any case, with the existence of this evil god of hell, although it was just a clone, I believe that the wizards who attacked this time will definitely not get any good results. However, the battle situation in front of him was beyond his expectations. There were only 3 attackers, and each of them was so weird. David couldn't help but sigh inwardly as he looked at the 2 colorful phantoms that looked like him flying towards him. Forget it, let's retreat first. Believe in Mephisto, he will definitely not let him down. Calling on the power of the origin of dusk, he used the backup plan that he had originally set up. The deep yellow light flashed, and David's figure slowly disappeared. However, at the moment of disappearance, David widened his eyes. In shock, he couldn't help but feel a little relieved. He actually saw that Mephisto's body turned into ashes and slowly disappeared, and Lockhart on the opposite side had a smile on his face. Damn, this evil god of hell can't be the Silver Spear Candlehead. How can even Lockhart not solve it? How powerful is this Lockhart? After all, Mephisto is also a veteran evil god of hell. The thought flashed through his mind, and he was somewhat relieved that he left early, otherwise he would have to die here. At this moment, Lockhart turned his head and glanced at David, who had disappeared. Humph. The other party was lucky and ran away in time, otherwise, he would have to let David know what it means to be worse than death. However, when Lockhart thought of the vast amount of memories that the system had just instilled into his mind, he smiled with joy. Unlike Dormammu's fragmented soul, Mephisto's memory was quite complete thanks to the system. Not only did he have all kinds of secrets between dimensional gods, but more importantly, he had obtained from his memory the key to becoming a dimensional god. Chapter 609, Dividing the Heaven and Earth, the Embryo of Dimension. What is the key to becoming a dimensional god? Dimensional gods are called dimensional gods. The key is not the gods behind, but the dimensions in front. Each dimensional god has its own dimension. In addition, the transformed soul and the magic of the fusion concept are secondary. As long as you have a dimension, the dimension will not be destroyed, and the gods will not die. To a certain extent, the dimension can be understood as the kingdom of God, but it is more powerful and more growth oriented than the kingdom of God. To be precise, each one is a complete world on each side. However, the attributes are different, which causes different differences. If the dimension wants to grow, the mainstream method is plunder. Plunder souls, plunder resources, and plunder other dimensions. This also caused the most fundamental struggle of dimensional gods. However, these are still a bit far away for Lockhart. According to Mephisto's memory, there are 2 main ways to obtain dimensions. The first is to rely on luck and encounter a natural latitude that is still in its infancy. When the soul merges with the dimension and controls the dimension, it basically becomes a reserve for the dimensional god, waiting for the soul and magic power to transform, and the unique original power of oneself to form. It will mark the beginning of godhood. This method is purely based on luck. Many ancient gods merged a dimension because of luck. Most of them just took advantage of the time. As time goes by, more and more dimensions are discovered, and those that have not been found become rare. It is becoming more and more difficult to become a dimensional god. Then, I don't know when, maybe a genius or a god invented the second method. Since the natural dimension is becoming more and more difficult to find, then take the initiative to create your own dimension. Since the road cannot be found, then walk out a road yourself. The second road appeared. Obviously, compared to the first road, which relies on luck to become a god, the second road requires a higher price. If you want to create a dimension, you must first be qualified. If your mental power is not enough and your soul is not strong, you can't carry it at all, and you can't even condense it. Therefore, the first step to becoming a god is to transform your spirit or soul. This is the case with the god initiating ceremony, held by the fallen wizard. With the help of the ceremony, they successfully transformed their mental power, but of course they did not reach the level of gods. However, it has basically reached the level of a quasi-god. It has reached the basic requirements of carrying a dimension. The second step is energy, of course. It can also be called magic. Similarly, it also requires transformation, at least to integrate a certain concept. Just like the power of dusk, it integrates the concept of dusk. Just like the power of darkness, it integrates the concept of darkness. There are also deserts, shadows, hell, dreams, light, space, time, etc. Each dimensional god has its own title. Dormammu, the god of darkness, Mephisto, the evil god of hell, Vishanti, the god of white magic. They all integrate themselves into a certain concept. They are the controllers of this concept. And with the help of the concepts they control, they also create their own believers, or mage systems. With the help of these believers or mage, they further consolidate and strengthen the authority they control. Of course, becoming a god does not require this, but at the very least, you must find a concept that has not been fully controlled by others, and integrate it into your own magic. Prepare for controlling a certain concept after becoming a dimensional god. In this regard, the fallen mage David chose dusk. Because the god of dusk is dead, the controller of the dusk concept naturally does not exist. David naturally couldn't give up such a good opportunity. His goal was to become the new god of twilight, master the concept of twilight. Just like Vishanti, he built a system of wizards based on the concept of twilight. Completely master and strengthen the power of twilight. This was the second step, which David had already done. And Lockhart, with the help of the power of the origin of dreams, also integrated the concept of dreams into his own magic. Next, it was the most critical third step. Create the prototype of the dimension. How to create a dimension? Even if it is a prototype, the difficulty is not low. After all, in the beginning, these dimensions were born from the nature of heaven and earth. It's not that you can create them just by saying you have them. All aspects involved are very complicated. If there is a slight mistake, the dimension may collapse, and all previous efforts will be wasted. Don't look at Lockhart, who built his own dream world, as if it was very complete. But if you want to advance to the dream dimension, and integrate it into the entire universe with many dimensions, it's still too simple. It can even be said without hesitation that, if you want to create a dimension purely, only the gods can do it. No, to be precise, only those old-fashioned ones, or even the supreme god level, can successfully create it. The newly born dimensional gods basically do not have such ability. It is so difficult. How can a wizard who has not yet become a god do it? Since direct creation does not work, there are naturally indirect methods. I don't know if it is a certain god or a genius in ancient times who passed down a method. Simply put, it is to occupy the magpie's nest. I can't create it myself. Can't I rob others? Of course, those who rob the latitude gods are looking for death. However, I don't rob the gods' dimensions, I just rob this piece of heaven and earth. The world is so vast, can't I give it to me? I just need to cut it off and separate it from the original world. Isn't this a natural dimensional prototype? Admittedly, this is very unfriendly to the world or the universe, and even a kind of harm. There is no doubt that it greatly reduces the difficulty of creating dimensions. After all, the world has been running for countless billions of years, and it is complete in itself. I cut off a piece. As long as the method is appropriate, it will naturally be complete. Of course, if you want to completely cut the world, instead of destroying it, the difficulty itself is not low. Even the place and method of cutting are very particular. Otherwise, if you are not careful, it will cause the world to backfire and die on the spot. Seeing this, Lockhart was thoughtful. London? No, it should be the entire island of England. It is David's goal. He wants to cut Britain as the foundation of his own dimension. Seeing this, Lockhart couldn't help but have a trace of doubt in his mind. Is there anything special about Britain? Why can it become the foundation of a dimensional god? The universe is so vast, with so many planets, and so many pieces of land. Why choose Britain? This is not the Middle Ages, and everyone doesn't know the existence of other planets. Nowadays, Lockhart has seen other worlds and even alien planets. With his thoughts turning, Lockhart continued to read Mephisto's memory in March, his secrets. As he watched, Lockhart's heart became more and more solemn. The answer is also very simple, or it can be said that he is not simple. In the entire vast universe, the Earth is special. This novel-like setting appeared in Lockhart's eyes, so real and so amazing. The place where the Eternal descended, the incarnation of the gods, the home of the Phoenix clan, the birthplace of Asgard. One by one, the titles appeared in Lockhart's mind. It seemed to tell the specialness of the Earth. The Earth was once the place where the supreme god descended eternally, the incarnation of the gods, and the birthplace of various gods and pantheons from the east and the west. The Earth is the center of the universe. This sentence was really true in ancient times. Many gods, including the Dark God, Mephisto, Vishanti Agamotto, etc. were all born on the Earth. Many dimensional prototypes also appeared on the Earth. No, there was no such name as the Earth at that time. It was called the Eternal Realm at that time. It means that it is the place where the supreme god descended eternally. However, the gods fought, and many strong men divided the world in order to become gods. The original supreme world, the magnificent continent, gradually degenerated. Now it has become a planet. It is unknown in this vast universe. However, the dimensional gods who came out of the Earth have not forgotten it, and their greed for the Earth remains unabated. It's just that the Supreme Sorcerer was born, a top powerhouse who protects the Earth. Not only is he powerful, he has killed many dimensional gods. More importantly, behind the Supreme Sorcerer is the Supreme God Eternity, as the place where the Earth once descended, although no one knows the reason for the advent. However, due to an unknown reason, the Supreme Sorcerer hooked up with the Supreme God Eternity. So far, although other dimensional gods are full of greed for the Earth, love and eternity and the powerful Supreme Sorcerer are basically restrained. However, although they do not intend to destroy the Earth, they are still greedy for the resources on the Earth. Tangible and intangible resources such as souls, dimensions, concepts, etc. are extremely active on the Earth. After all, as the ancestral land, where many gods were born, the value of the Earth itself is still very great. Just like now, David is going to use the island of England to create a dimensional dimension and become a god. Teacher, is Mephisto, the evil god of hell, dead? Wanda walked to Lockhart and asked. There was surprise and expectation in her words. Arnold on the side also looked at Lockhart, as if he wanted to hear Lockhart's conclusion. The latitude evil god, although not the original body, but even a clone is not something that the wizard can destroy. It is understandable to resist, but to destroy. Do you really think the evil god will not run away? Unless many wizards work together to arrange the magic circle, it is possible. Or the supreme wizard takes action. Yes, Mephisto's clones on Earth are gone. Lockhart said calmly. Yes, because the previous dimension invasion suffered heavy losses, and the source consumed by condensing the clone is not small. So Mephisto only condensed this clone and descended to Earth. Hearing this, Arnold's face was calm, but his heart was already turbulent. He asked himself, facing Mephisto's clone, he wanted to save his life and escape. But if he wanted to counterattack or even kill, there was basically no hope. And Lockhart did it, which means, Master Arnold, I just got some crucial information. If we are not careful, I'm afraid that the London Temple will not be able to escape the disaster. Lockhart said with a serious face. Please send all the active temple mages to explore London and the surrounding cities. Search for everything related to Dusk. At this point, Lockhart's tone became low. I will also send people from the universal world to participate. No need to do it. Just report back what you see for statistics. At this moment, Arnold, although a little puzzled by Lockhart's words, looked at his serious face and low words, and nodded in his heart to show that he understood. Master Lockhart, don't worry, I will arrange people to participate in it here, and collect information from all the forces of the London Temple. However, what happened that actually threatened the entire London Temple? Do you need to contact the Kamar-Taj headquarters for support? Or contact the Supreme Sorcerer? Obviously, Lockhart's serious mood has infected Arnold, and he thinks something big has happened. Arnold's personality meant that he definitely didn't have the habit of holding on alone. He would call people if he could, and calling the Supreme Sorcerer would be a guarantee. He didn't dare to say anything, and he would try his best regardless of whether there was a chance or not. After hearing this, Lockhart was silent for a moment, looked at Wanda on the side, waved his hand, and a colorful light flashed in front of Wanda. The figure disappeared immediately. Obviously, what happened next was not suitable for Wanda to know, and Arnold was even more looking forward to it. In the battle just now, I got an important message. David is going to become the new god of dusk. The most critical step for him now is to integrate the concept of dusk into the memory of everyone in Britain. With the help of the faith of the entire British people, he will become the god of dusk. Lockhart didn't tell Arnold the truth, but simplified the information. After all, the way to become a dimensional god is no longer just measured by value. I believe that only the supreme sorcerer knows the whole earth. He couldn't tell Arnold directly. After all, the relationship between the two sides was not that good. Of course, what David is going to do now should be the same as what Lockhart said. To safely divide the island of England and create the prototype of one's own dimension. This process is simple, but also complicated. Among them, the most critical step is the will of heaven and earth, or the will of the earth. The earth cannot tolerate other people or gods dividing its body. Therefore, it can only take deception or paralysis. Through faith, or infecting the spiritual ocean, the initial concealment is carried out. The British have lived on the island of England for a long time, and formed a country. There is no doubt that at the symbolic level, they are the leaders of the whole of England, and can be replaced initially. Therefore, when the whole of Britain believes in dusk, or regards the belief in dusk as a common thing, the concept of dusk spreads to the whole island of England. Through rituals, the spiritual ocean of the whole of Britain is mobilized. The will of the earth can be paralyzed in a short time. At that time, combined with other means, it can be cut naturally. Create a prototype of latitude and step into the realm of gods. Chapter 610 Shameless, Invincible. London, England. The latest Twilight series of tarot cards, limited edition. The latest TV series Twilight Love will be officially launched at 8 p.m. tonight. The sunset is infinitely beautiful, but it is almost dusk. The latest 5-level masterpiece Twilight of the Gods will be officially released at 9 a.m. 3 days later. Open the computer browser and simply search for the word Twilight. In an instant, a large amount of relevant information containing the word Twilight appears. After adjusting the time of the past month, enter the group code to filter the information. Various messages related to dusk continue to appear. With the mouse sliding, Lockhart looked at the computer screen in front of him and frowned slightly. There are many ways to collect information, but collecting from the internet is the easiest and most labor-intensive thing. Just from the scene he just saw, Lockhart discovered that a large amount of information related to dusk has appeared on this British network in the past month. Of course, it may be that it is searched with dusk as the keyword, so naturally, everything it sees is related to dusk. However, movies, TV series, games and other widely disseminated channels have all appeared things related to dusk. This is definitely not a coincidence. At this moment, dang. There was a knock on the door. Lockhart said, "Come in." Ian, Remy and Vera walked into the house. "Teacher, is there anything we can do?" Jan asked calmly. Remy and Vera on the side also looked at their mentor, with doubts and expectations in their eyes. Mobilize all the wizards in the Vincian world, who can act now to do one thing. Hearing this, Ian and the other two began to become serious. Mobilizing all resources, there is no doubt that this matter is extremely important. What I need to do is to find out whether all cities in the UK, including towns and villages, have recently held activities related to dusk. At this point, Lockhart paused, as if he thought of something. Focus on exploring some remote and sparsely populated places. Everyone bring a combat puppet, just explore, and explode after finding any abnormalities. Don't act without authorization. When it comes to the words "don't act without authorization," Lockhart's tone is unquestionable. He doesn't want to alert the enemy, although he guessed that David might have been prepared to be discovered. But the later the other party realizes it, the better it is for him. Dusk. Remy was a little surprised and said with a hint of uncertainty, "Teacher, if you want to talk about dusk, I did find some before." Hearing this, Lockhart set his eyes on Remy. Remy thought for a while, as if he was organizing his words, and said, "When I was in the wizarding world, I lived in London, so after coming to the new world, I consciously explored the differences between the two Londons. Although there are many similarities between the two Londons, such as some buildings and some well-known places, but there are still big differences. Maybe because there is a ministry of magic in the wizarding world, the gossipy government knows very little about the supernatural. But in the British government in the new world, there seem to be many projects exploring the supernatural. I don't care about these differences, but when you mentioned Dusk, I thought of it. The British government seems to have launched a plan called Dusk Warrior, which is said to have consumed a lot of resources. But I don't know much. After all, I'm not interested in these." Hearing what Remy said, Lockhart looked at him deeply. Why did Remy go to the British government? But he didn't think much about it. After all, students all have their own things to do, and their own plans and ideas. As long as it doesn't affect him, it doesn't matter. Okay, I know about this matter. Remy, you continue to be responsible for it. If there is any relevant information in the future, please summarize it for me. Lockhart still trusts his students. After all, he cultivated their personalities and abilities very well. What's more, any of the means such as magic imprints and magic contracts are enough to reassure Lockhart. Okay, mentor. The three said in unison. As Lockhart nodded slightly, they turned and left. Prepare to complete their tasks. Raise an army for 1,000 days and use it for a moment. Lockhart is still very interested in the prototype of the dimension. After all, this is the foundation of becoming a god. However, the Supreme Sorcerer's attitude towards the prototype of the dimension. Kamar-Taj, Bamboo Forest Tea House. Arnold, the guardian wizard of the London Temple, stood quietly aside. Looking at the Supreme Sorcerer standing in front of the window, he bowed his head slightly to show respect. Lockhart told you that David was going to become the god of Twilight. Yes, Supreme Sorcerer. Arnold nodded and said very affirmatively. He was not stupid. This matter obviously involved the dimensional evil god. Mephisto had appeared, and there might be other evil gods still in the dark. He wanted to rely on the London Temple alone, which was courting death and irresponsible. He was not without a backer. The Supreme Sorcerer, the nemesis of the evil god, was the backer of the three major temples. As long as the Supreme Sorcerer took action, then Arnold believed that all the conspiracy plans would be paper tigers. Lockhart said that David and other fallen wizards need the faith of the British. At this point, the Supreme Sorcerer flashed a smile in his words. He said so. The sensitive Arnold noticed the change in the Supreme Sorcerer's tone. Supreme Sorcerer, is it possible that the information provided by Master Lockhart is correct? That's right. The Supreme Sorcerer said lightly. Well, do you think it is necessary to mobilize the fighting style of Kamar-Taj to enter the field? After all, it involves the evil god. At this point, Arnold paused slightly. Do you think it is necessary to go to the London Temple and sit down by the way? It's the same old saying, as long as the Supreme Sorcerer takes action, then all problems are not a problem. As for, if the matter has not further fermented, will it seem a bit of a waste of talent to ask the Supreme Sorcerer to go there? Arnold doesn't care about this. He is almost 100 years old, and has seen through everything. The sky is big, the earth is big, but it is not as important as survival. He wants to continue to live, and he also wants all the mages under his command to survive safely. In this case, don't have any shame. As the saying goes, a tree without bark will die, and a person without shame will be invincible in the world. No matter whether there are dates or not, hit 2 or 3 shots first. Mobilize the mages of Kamar-Taj. I won't go there for now. I need to stay in Kamar-Taj recently. There are some unusual movements in the dimensional gap. Hearing this, Arnold showed a regretful look on his face, nodded, continued to chat for a few more sentences, and then turned and left. Forget it, the battle mages of Kamar-Taj are also a great force. It's a pity that the Supreme Sorcerer would be better. Looking at Arnold's leaving figure, the Supreme Sorcerer looked leisurely, as if thinking about something. Lockhart, what will you choose? Chapter 611 Testing the Dark God Dormammu. Dark Dimension. The Dark Dimension, which was originally vast and constantly expanding outward, is slowly shrinking inward, as if collapsing. The speed of shrinking inward is a bit anxious, and a large number of black space cracks always appear on the edge. It seems to indicate that something very bad has happened. Yes, the Dark God Dormammu participated in the dimension invasion, and he was even the main force. However, he had to be cautious in the long run, so he chose to split his soul and carry the original power to enter. Just like Mephisto. No, to be precise, he invested more resources than Mephisto. Relatively speaking, after the failure of the dimension invasion, his losses were also huge. The dark dimension is based on the original power as energy. The large amount of dark original power did cause the entire dimension to be turbulent. In order to restore the original order and stabilize the dark dimension, the dark god Dormammu chose to shrink. Just like now, he shrunk the dark dimension inward as much as possible to reduce the loss of the original power and at the same time recuperate. Compared with the periphery of the dark dimension, the core area of the dark dimension is no different from before. It is still that colorful nebula. Large tracts of planets and land fragments are constantly rotating along some strange trajectory. From a distance, it even looks very dreamy. The dreamy sea of stars is slowly rotating. Suddenly, as if sensing some kind of power, the sea of stars began to move quickly. Soon, the entire new sea formed a face that looked like a human face. He is the will of the entire dark dimension. In other words, he is the dark god Dormammu. Mephisto, what are you doing here? A huge voice sounded in the vast void. There was a hint of doubt or caution in the voice. Everyone participated in the dimensional invasion. Although Dong saved his life, he lost a lot of original power. They are all in a weak state. Even he is weaker. At this time, if an evil god like Mephisto, who has a bad reputation, comes here, as long as there is no problem with his eyesight, he will be worried. Could it be that Mephisto came to look at my condition and wanted to devour me while I'm weak? I can't blame Dormammu for thinking so. Devouring other dimensions is a way to quickly restore strength and accumulate original power. If he remained in his normal state and Mephisto was seriously injured, he would not hesitate to control the dark dimension and directly devour the other part as hell. Don't worry, Dormammu. Mephisto's voice sounded with a faint smile. I came here this time to ask you something. Oh. Dormammu simply said oh, and continued to remain silent. If possible, he would rather have never seen Mephisto. If he didn't know Kamar-Taj's attitude towards the dimensional gods, he would probably think that Mephisto was a spy sent by Kamar-Taj. Lockhart, do you know? Mephisto shook his head and said with a hint of sarcasm. It seemed that he was just trying to provoke the other party's anger. I remember that your soul was destroyed by the other party last time. To be honest, I thought you were joking. Mephisto said with a smile. However, I was on Earth recently and found that this Lockhart is incredible. Oh. Dormammu simply spit out an oh and didn't say anything, seeming a little impatient or disdainful. Mephisto continued, he has a deep relationship with Asgard. The Sorcerer Supreme seems to take good care of him. He himself controls a lot of resources with the help of the Vencian world. If nothing unexpected happens, he is likely to become the strongest person in Kamar-Taj besides the Sorcerer Supreme. TSK. I have to say, he is a good candidate. Mephisto, what do you mean? Dormammu's flat voice sounded, I don't have time to deal with you now. If you want to talk, just get to the point. It's nothing big, I just want to tell you. I'm very interested in this Lockhart. I feel his soul is extremely valuable. Dormammu, please let go of me. Mephisto tried. He seemed to want to know the position of Lockhart in Dormammu's heart. Dormammu was silent, but soon, the voice sounded again. Mephisto, you are free. If you have nothing to do, leave. The Dark Latitude will be closed in the near future, and no guests are welcome. Hearing this, Mephisto nodded to show that he understood. Without saying anything, he turned around and prepared to return to his own dimension of hell. However, the moment he turned around, a smile appeared on Mephisto's face. Sure enough, Dormammu was determined to get this Lockhart. It seems that there is indeed a big secret, and, recalling the moment when his soul was devoured, the soul seemed to touch a great existence. Although it was just a simple moment, I even thought it was an illusion. If it is true, then, Mephisto's eyes showed a greedy look. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the dark night of Tarot Town, the wind was howling. The wind blew against the windows, making banging sounds. Most of the people in the town returned to their homes, and only a few shops occasionally had lights on, as if to indicate that they were still open for business. At this moment, in the central square of this town, stood a huge stone statue. Tarot Town is famous for tarot cards, and their stone statues are naturally tarot cards. And in front of this huge marble tarot card, stood a figure in a black robe. What was strange was that there was not a single human being in the vast square, as if everyone had left. Only the black-robed figure in the middle remained. When the line of sight was drawn closer, it was David, the leader of the fallen mages. Standing in front of this huge stone statue tarot card, David slowly stretched out his right hand and lightly touched the edge. A certain line. Buzz. Click. 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 Dark red lines emerged one by one on this huge stone statue tarot card. With a series of clicks, the middle of the tarot card slowly opened, revealing a black passage as high as a person. David was not surprised to see this. He stepped directly into the black passage. The moment he entered, there was a bang, as if he sensed something, and the entire passage was completely bright. The passage did not seem to be short, at least much longer than the stone statue. Obviously, magic was cast here. This is a safe house for the fallen mages. Originally, there was only a wandering mage with considerable strength living here. But later, the wandering mage left. David naturally accepted it with a smile. This place became a safe house for the fallen mages. When Dusk Castle was discovered, David called on the other wizards to leave the castle and come to the safe house to wait for instructions. Now, he wants to meet the remaining fallen wizards. Many plans need to be changed because of Lockhart's discovery. I'm afraid that the next few days will be accompanied by killing and sacrifice. Chapter 612 David, meet the challenge of the London Temple. Whoosh. The torches hanging on the wall burned wantonly, and the slight breeze made the red flames flutter in the wind. The flames dispelled the darkness in this spacious space, and also illuminated the faces of every fallen wizard in the room. Some kept stroking the rings on their fingers, looking nervous. Some turned their heads and looked around, as if observing the expressions of others, and judging their current situation. Others closed their eyes, not knowing whether they were meditating or thinking. Of course, there were people who walked to the corners, and whispered to each other. Milton, what do you think? A middle-aged wizard asked through magic transmission. The Milton wizard looked unhappy, but he replied with magic power, just wait and see. Wait for David to come back, and see how the situation is. Hey, not long ago, you said that Dusk Castle was foolproof. The middle-aged wizard Wesley seemed a little disappointed. I didn't expect. Go and make your potion. Milton wizard said unhappily. What's the point of thinking more? Don't forget that Mephisto is in alliance with us. 80% of the enemies who came this time will be killed. It's because of Mephisto that I'm worried. The middle-aged wizard Wesley muttered softly. What did you say? Milton didn't seem to hear clearly. Nothing. Do you think the Supreme Mage will take action? When talking about the Supreme Mage, Wesley was obviously a little scared. You can rest assured about this. This wizard has already made a move. Don't forget, there are 8-dimensional demons in the dimensional invasion. Even if the Supreme Wizard has won, his situation is not much better now. How can he have time to hunt us down? Otherwise, we would have been caught long ago. You know the ability of the Supreme Wizard. When talking about this, Milton's voice contained strong confidence. He used to specialize in divination, and he did divination for himself during the discussion. Although the results are a bit vague, one thing is certain, David has a secret of becoming a god. Moreover, he also tried to calculate the Supreme Wizard. According to the results of divination, the Supreme Wizard seems to be sitting in Kamar-Taj, and will not make a move at will. Combined with the battle of the dimensional invasion, it is likely that he is recovering from his injuries. Since this wizard will not make a move directly, the content of the transaction on David's side is not false. And he has long wanted to get away from Kamar-Taj, this meat grinder. However, if he believes in Vishanti and wants to betray, it will really be a road to self-destruction. David gave him the secret method of cutting, and the secret of becoming a god. He really couldn't think of a reason to refuse. Judging from the current situation, at least he has cut off contact with Vishanti and retained his own magic power. It can be said that he has achieved nearly half of his goal. If he can get the opportunity to become a god, he will never refuse. The affirmation in Milton's words seemed to infect Wesley, and he felt relieved. He was about to say something. Suddenly, Milton patted his arm, as if reminding him of something. Looking up and looking forward, as expected, the figure of the leader David appeared in the front. "Dear mages, I'm back. This time I bring a good news, and a bad news." David's voice sounded, and the fallen mages on the side were slightly agitated. David continued. "The good news is that we will officially start the final god-making ceremony. Every mage present here has the possibility of becoming a dimensional god. At the very least, you can transform your magic power, increase your lifespan, and improve your strength." David's words were full of temptation, and many of the fallen mages below were breathing heavily. "Masters, I believe that everyone has chosen the authority of the concept of becoming a god in the future. Even some excellent masters have initially integrated the concept into magic, and completed the prototype of magic transformation. I believe that with the talents of all masters, it is only a matter of time to complete the transformation of magic. Britain is a good place. Their head of government has completely controlled it. We also took the opportunity to promulgate various policies that are conducive to our promotion of concepts and consolidation of faith. Yes, if Lockhart did not target Dusk, but conducted a comprehensive information sorting, you will find that various film and television works have emerged in the UK recently. Although many of them are shoddy, there are also fine works. In addition, various cultural activities and even religions have become unusually active. It can be said that various concepts have begun to emerge, such as dusk, dreams, night, etc. And all of these are derived from the policies recently promulgated by the British government. He promulgated many policies, and one policy is inconspicuous, but very important. That is to promote cultural prosperity and spend money on cultural propaganda and cultural construction. The most important thing about this policy is that it can use a history, cultural legends, myths, etc. of Britain to promote a certain concept. Just like David's Twilight, it has also been promoted through movies, TV series, games, and even religion, and has been integrated into the ears of every British person. Other mages have also chosen their own concepts, and tried to promote them, and condense them with the magic power in their bodies. Yes, there can only be one god of Twilight, and when the present takes this path, other fallen mages choose other paths. In short, because of the contract, David has handed over the method of the magic transformation link of becoming a god to them. They naturally choose the one that suits them. Of course, this is for geniuses. Some ordinary people still use the power of Twilight. And we have received resource support from Mephisto and some other channels, and we will let go and help everyone further integrate the concept into magic. And, speaking of this, David deliberately paused, and then he said loudly, "Use all resources to provide help to every mage who wants to try magic transformation. This is the good news I want to tell you." After David's voice fell, many fallen mages showed joy on their faces. The integration of illusory concepts with magic is undoubtedly very demanding. At least, the spiritual power must be transformed, at least to the quasi-god level. This is also the purpose of the initiation ceremony they held before. Only when the spiritual power is transformed, can one touch the illusory concept of authority. Otherwise, it would be a fantasy. In addition, various resources are also indispensable. Both tangible and intangible things are needed. Most of them used their own before. After all, they were ready to defect, so they naturally plundered as many resources as they could. However, no matter what, it is still limited. Now, David said that he could provide more resources, and they were naturally happy. However, a small number of mages began to look solemn. They just said that there was good news and bad news. Release such a big good news first. Is this to say that next? The second news is actually within our expectations. As our actions become more and more active, it is inevitable that some traces will be discovered by the mages of the London Temple. After they find out, they will also stop them. This is inevitable. Now, it has become a reality. Next, I'm afraid we will have to face the challenge of the London Temple. Chapter 613, Traitor version of Doctor Strange. An alley in London. Ring of Cabal. Shield of Loyal. Bang. Bang, bang. The circular flying knife shot forward and rushed towards the red flame shield. After hearing the bang, Doctor Strange seemed to know the defense of the shield. Strange pulled his arm back slightly, and the circular blade flew towards him. It slowly landed on the palm of his hand. Puff. With a thought, he revoked the magic power and turned it into scattered red flame light spots. Watching the oval shield that was 1 person tall appearing on the opposite side, Strange's eyes were cold. He put his hands together, the magic power surged, and he pulled outward, and a red flame long stick slowly emerged. He held the long stick tightly with both hands, and felt the lines on the long stick with his fingertips. Strange nodded slightly with satisfaction. Damn traitor, accept Vishanti's judgment. Trample, trample, trample. Cursing a few words, Strange stepped forward, rushed forward, raised the long stick in his hand high, and rushed towards the shield. The wizard on the opposite side had no expression on his face after hearing Strange's curse. He looked at the other wizard behind Strange slightly. No, to be precise, it was the battle between his companion and another wizard. Just like he was fighting with Strange in front of him. Not long ago, the London Temple had a huge harvest, breaking through the Dusk Castle, the headquarters of the fallen wizard. But at the same time, several wizards of the London Temple died unexpectedly. They did not die in the Battle of Dusk Castle. Instead, they died in an intolerable way, betrayed by their teammates. Yes, when they were searching for space coordinates, they were lucky to lock the coordinates of Dusk Castle. Originally, they were excited and ready to return to the London Temple to report this harvest. As a result, they just found that the teammates next to them directly cast fatal magic. They had no sense of defense against their teammates at all. So, they suffered an intolerable betrayal, and the price was death. This is just what happened to an exploration team. You know, the London Temple has sent out more than a dozen exploration teams. The probability of each team member is random. In this case, most of the members of an exploration team are traitors. In a sense, either there is a problem with the wizard who assigned the team, or it is a more terrible possibility. The number of traitors may be more than imagined. After Arnold, the guardian wizard of the London Temple, realized it, he did not report it directly to the Kamar-Taj headquarters this time. Instead, he discussed with Lockhart and began to check himself. Yes, he also had to discuss with Lockhart, not only because Lockhart's disciples were attacked and killed by the traitors. It is precisely because Lockhart is now in London that the identity of the temple is a law enforcer or an inspector, which is more appropriate. If there is any problem in the London Temple, Lockhart has the right to investigate and report to Kamar-Taj. Therefore, Arnold needs to discuss with Lockhart. He doesn't want to report the large number of traitors in the London Temple to Kamar-Taj so early. He is responsible for the appearance of traitors. A large number of traitors appeared in the London Temple. He could not escape this responsibility. He might even lose his position as the Guardian Wizard and receive a more severe punishment. After all, a wizard who had guarded the London Temple for decades had so many traitors. Is this justified? Even if you think about it from a dark perspective, under what circumstances would the people below rebel in large numbers? Could it be that there was something wrong with the people above? This was Arnold's current dilemma, so he needed to discuss with Lockhart. In any case, he would suppress the information and solve it himself. When everything was resolved, the next thing would be easy. Punishment was inevitable, but it was much better than before. Even atonement was not impossible. Therefore, Arnold, who hated the fallen wizard, now regarded the fallen wizard as his only chance to atone for his sins. He had already told the supreme wizard about the huge conspiracy of the fallen wizard. If they succeeded in preventing the birth of a dimensional god, he would even have made a huge contribution. This disaster was likely to be safely passed. This is what Arnold thought. For Lockhart, facing the plea of the Guardian Wizard, he thought again and again, and chose to agree. On the one hand, the conspiracy of the fallen wizard has already appeared. If the London Temple is in chaos again, it will undoubtedly be more difficult to solve. And let Master Arnold continue to control the London Temple. Under this circumstance, he is more attentive than anyone else. On the other hand, he also has his own thoughts. He needs the support of the Guardian Wizard. Cassilis, the wizard of the New York Temple, is his good friend. Elder Byron, who serves as the law enforcer at the Kamar-Taj headquarters, also has a very good relationship with him. If the Guardian Wizard of the London Temple also chooses to support him, then, for Lockhart, he will get the support of most of Kamar-Taj. If you want to change a new Guardian Wizard, it will be more troublesome. Lockhart promised to give Arnold confidence, and the wizards of the Vencian world came to help, which made Arnold even more grateful. Therefore, the London Temple conducted a large-scale self-examination. All kinds of magical means were used to try to screen out all the traitors. Soon, some traitors who were obviously abnormal were discovered. During this period, the battle mages of the temple were very tired. Basically, they were fighting every day. If they could arrest a traitor directly, it would be great. But if the other party received the news and chose to escape, they could only chase him. Just like what Strange did now. Capture the traitor, bring him back to the temple, and put him on trial. Bang, bang, bang. The shield hit by the long stick was hit several times quickly, and soon the shield was on the verge of breaking. At the same time, the long stick turned into a rope, trying to tie up the traitor mage. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The rope broke through, and the air made a whirring scream. The traitor mage on the opposite side picked up the two long swords condensed by magic in his hands with an expressionless face, and rushed towards Strange. Maybe the traitor mage was very experienced, and he successfully dodged the attack of the rope after several strides. Soon, holding the double blades, he arrived in front of Strange. At this moment, Strange seemed to feel threatened. A double blade also appeared in his hand, as if he wanted to have a close combat with the other party. Clang, clang, clang. The steps were staggered, and the short blades collided quickly, making a clanging sound. At first glance, the two figures kept crossing like phantoms, as if they were engaged in a fierce battle. However, what was unknown to the public was that in the clanging sound of the short blades colliding, a subtle sound was heard. My identity has been exposed. It's up to you now, Strange. My friend, I wish you to break free from the shackles of the gods and become a free man. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 614, Traitors of the London Temple. London Temple. Buzz. A red flame portal opened, and three figures walked out of it. Among them, the person walking in front had his hands tied, and the ring on his hand was taken off, obviously imprisoned. The two people behind him had obvious traces of fighting on their bodies. They couldn't be said to be covered in dust, but there were more or less some holes or signs of burning on their clothes. As for dust, there was a lot of it. The two people pressed down the traitor, and their faces seemed a little bad. The reason was also very simple. This time they went out to capture two traitors. One of them was successfully captured, and the other escaped directly. Humph. Genius. Genius. If he is really a genius, he would let the other party run away so easily. The middle-aged wizard who pressed down the traitor glanced at Stevenson Strange beside him, snorted in his heart, and silently complained. He hated traitors. Not only because a traitor attacked and killed his friend not long ago, but also because he was stabbed deep in the back by the traitor. Damn, he was also convinced. How did this group of traitors hide so well? It was in vain that he trusted them so much. He even entrusted his own resources to them in exchange for potions. When Toby, the middle-aged wizard who had become a pauper, thought of this, he was furious and wanted to torture the attitude in front of him. Master Lake, this is the traitor we caught, Cobb said in a slightly stiff tone. Well, the anger in his heart did not disappear. Only one. Master Lake, who was sitting at the opposite table, raised his head, took a look, and muttered, "It seems that these traitors are getting more and more cunning." Strange on the side had a subtle expression, but did not say anything. Well, he fought against the traitor with him, and he slightly held back, allowing the other party to run away. Master Strange, Master Toby, thank you for your contribution to the London Temple. Leave it to us next. We will not let these traitors have an easy time. Master Lake said righteously, and Strange on the opposite side nodded silently. And Master Toby, who was suppressing the traitor, went straight forward. The suppressed traitor was handed over to Master Lake. Come on, Strange, I'll buy you a drink and relax. Toby made his own invitation, although the genius in front of him was a little lame in today's battle. But Toby also knew that this guy in front of him had been learning magic for less than a year, and he could already fight with senior battle mages. He was already talented enough. Well, okay, Master Toby. Facing Toby's invitation, Strange's eyes jumped, and he silently agreed. Now the situation is too tense. He feels it's better to be sociable. The London Temple is too strict. Almost everyone, including him, has been checked 2 or 3 times. Let's go. Toby waved the hanging ring and opened a full teleportation door. There was a bar opposite the teleportation door. Alas, the pain of poverty is really hard to describe. I can only drink to relieve my sorrow. Strange followed Toby into the bar and saw Toby skillfully order a few drinks. Silently sat aside and looked at the surrounding environment. Alas, this group of fallen mages. It was too low. He had only joined for less than 3 or 4 days, but the other party was discovered by the London Temple. So many people were razed. If he had not joined late and did not make any suspicious moves, he would have been unavoidable. Strange sighed. But when he thought of the secrets provided by these fallen wizards, he felt a little hot in his heart. They claimed that Vishanti and the shoes were no different. They all lived by devouring the souls of believers. And the secrets they provided were to deceive Vishanti's gaze and cut off the connection between the two parties. To achieve an effect that can steal Vishanti's magic power without being discovered and used. I have to say, it is very tempting. After all, the war-loss rate of Kamar-Taj's wizards is very touching. If it were not for the initial contract that could not betray Vishanti, I'm afraid that many wizards would have left Kamar-Taj long ago. After all, there is only one life, and no matter how much you say about things like faith and mission, it is so fragile in the face of life-threatening danger. Just like the traitors of the London Temple now, almost half of them chose to betray. Strange, what benefits can those traitors get? They are not unaware of the harm of the evil gods. After taking a few gulps of wine, Toby complained. So many people choose to betray. Strange was speechless after hearing this. He couldn't tell him that Vishanti was like the evil gods, and traitors could have the opportunity to become gods. If he really said it, he would probably have to walk through the prison above. Without replying, Strange just took a sip of wine for himself. Don't think too much, you may have to go on a mission tomorrow. After hearing this, Toby mumbled something and continued to drink. Drinking to relieve sorrow only makes sorrow worse. The pain of poverty, I hope it can be reduced a little bit. London Temple, underground cell. Even with magic, the underground cell is still so dim, and there are some whip marks and blood on the wall. Maybe it is to shock the prisoners. After all, fear is the most important magic weapon to break through the psychological defenses of prisoners. The more cruel and dark it is, the more frightened the prisoner is. Only in this way can the other party reveal what the interrogator wants to know. Every mage who enters the underground cell is basically extremely vicious. It is rare to walk out safely. This time, Arnold, the guard mage of the London Temple, clearly requested that every traitor be brought here for interrogation. It is conceivable that he is furious. At this moment, the traitor Lauren, who was brought back by Master Toby, was tied to the iron frame in front of the wall. He looked at the dim and bloody cell around him in a panic, and seemed very frightened. And opposite him, several interrogating mages stared coldly at the traitor in front of him. Master Lauren, tell me, when did you choose to betray? The interrogating mage asked calmly, without any tone. The traitor looked at the other party with a little fear, opened his mouth, and seemed to be ready to say something, but kept silent. To be honest, how could he be a traitor and have a firm will? If it weren't for the contract, he would have said everything he could to save his life. Unfortunately, when he obtained the secret method, he also signed a contract. The contract did not force him to obtain a certain amount of information or do anything. However, there were many detailed descriptions of the punishment for betrayal. To put it bluntly, if he opened his mouth to leak, he would probably die. Chapter 615, Traitors of the London Temple. In the dim underground cell, the traitor mage opened his mouth to say something, but chose to keep silent in the end. The interrogator on the other side had a blank expression on his face, as if he had known the reason long ago. This group of mages who lured the traitors to fall, I have to say, is really a genius. It is normal to develop downlines and sign contracts. But the other party chose the contract, which is completely the kind that does not allow leaks of information. Apart from that, there are not many requirements. Yes, there is no force on the mage to obtain certain information or do something. It seems to be a pure secret contract. According to the contract, the traitors have the right to accept or refuse the tasks required by the other party. There is no compulsion at all. What is the result of this? Many mages have no defensive psychology at all, and even think that such a contract is very good. They will not leak secrets for no reason, and they can also choose what to do by themselves. Very free. This has led to the proliferation of traitors and the leakage of a lot of information. It must be said that the fallen mage who chooses to develop downlines and traitors in this way is a smart person. It's like an addiction. At the beginning, leaking very small information or doing some small things can get rich rewards. Then he got deeper and deeper into trouble. The handles were in the hands of the fallen mages, so he had to do things that violated his principles and leaked secrets. Seeing this, the interrogator softened his face and spoke more gently. Mage Lauren, I know you didn't mean to betray the London Temple. You were forced, right? The interrogator Martin said with concern. Yes. The betrayer Lauren seemed to feel the hope of life and nodded frantically. We know your situation very well. It's all the evil done by those damned fallen mages. Martin said seriously, even though he felt disgusted. If they hadn't tempted you, how could a good temple mage choose to betray? You're right, aren't you, Mage Lauren? Yes. Lauren nodded quickly, as if to say that you didn't mean to betray. You are just greedy for a moment, Lauren. Martin tempted again. The source is all that group of fallen mages. You were just forced to do something. You didn't do it on purpose, right? Mage Lauren. Yes, I didn't mean it. I was forced. The traitor Lauren shouted loudly, as if the louder he shouted, the more chances he had to survive. I know. Judge Martin seemed to agree very much. The target of the London Temple is the group of fallen mages, not you. Hearing this, Lauren looked at Martin with hope. Mage Lauren, as long as you cooperate with us, I believe there is still hope to get out in the future. Martin comforted. Now can you tell me, when did you come into contact with that group of fallen mages? Lauren opened his mouth to say something, but he seemed to sense some kind of danger, and he stopped talking after saying a word. There was despair in his eyes. After seeing it, Martin immediately said, it's a signed contract, right? You don't have to answer yes or no, just blink. Hearing this, Lauren quickly blinked, with a hint of surprise and relief in his eyes. Okay, I know your situation. As if sensing that most of Lauren's psychological defenses were opened, Martin's tone showed a hint of joy. Next, just cooperate with me. Same as before. Blink your eyes, if you are right. If you feel that the contract is restricted, just close your eyes. Master Lauren, just cooperate with me. I will ask for mercy for you with Aeluo's magician. You don't want to be locked up in this dark ballroom forever. The more he spoke, the more tempting Martin's tone became. It seemed that he was showing him new possibilities in the future. After hearing this, Lauren was silent for a while, but perhaps Martin's attitude before confused him, and he finally nodded heavily. Martin immediately asked, come, let's get to know a simple question first. When did you come into contact with the mage who seduced you? In the last 2 or 3 months, blink once. If it's been a long time, blink twice. After hearing this, Lauren very cooperatively blinked. Martin continued to ask, do you know any mages who have been seduced into traitors like you? Are there any fallen mages among them? Lauren blinked to show his affirmation. Martin's face showed a hint of joy, and he continued to ask, do you know their specific names? Who are they? This time, Lauren sensed some threat, and closed his eyes directly. Martin, who was opposite, saw this, and his face did not change at all. He waved the hanging ring, and the red flame-colored light spots in the air gradually formed a picture, and Martin continued to speak. Okay, Lauren, you can continue to open your eyes. After hearing this, Lauren opened his eyes, and in an instant, dozens of mage portraits appeared in front of him. They were all mages from the London Temple. At the same time, Martin's voice sounded faintly in his ears. Master Lauren, is there a traitor you know in there? If so, blink. Instantly, Lauren closed his eyes. Martin's tone fluctuated slightly, and the ring shook slightly, and the portraits on it instantly shrank to only 3. Martin's voice sounded again. Come on, Lauren, you can keep your eyes open. Look, are there any traitors you know in here? This time, after Lauren opened his eyes, he did not close his eyes or blink. Martin saw this and understood instantly, so he waved the ring and replaced the 3 mage portraits again. The same question came to mind again. Lauren still did not close his eyes or blink. Martin replaced the 3 portraits here. Lauren, come and see, are there any traitors you know who have been seduced in here? Lauren stared at the 3 portraits in front of him. Then, bang. Instantly, as if affected by some unknown force, Lauren's head exploded directly. Red blood and white brain matter covered the wall. In front of Martin, a transparent energy shield quietly emerged. It seemed that he had known that this result would happen. He just said to the wizard beside him in a cold voice, capture all 3 wizards above. Interrogate them one by one. Yes, the contract of the fallen wizard is very strict. The slightest violation will bring the punishment of the contract. However, as long as the means are appropriate, the punishment of the contract can be used as a means of identification. Martin sacrificed many traitor wizards and summed up the experience. He made a huge contribution to the capture of traitors by the London Temple. Catch one after another, follow the clues, and all the traitors will not be able to escape. It's nothing more than a matter of length. Suddenly, the wizard Martin seemed to have thought of something and spoke again. By the way, help me make an appointment with Toby and Master Strange who captured the wizard today. I need to know how that lucky traitor escaped capture. Chapter 616. Escape the fate of being devoured by the gods and become a free man. Deep inside the London Temple, Master Toby and Strange followed a young wizard into the depths of the temple. The 2 looked a little subtle, as if they knew what they would encounter next. After all, they had all heard rumors about the cold and ruthless wizards. Apart from anything else, no one had seen them since the traitor wizards were arrested. This matter itself was enough to make people imagine. Trample, trample, trample. The footsteps gradually sounded, and Master Toby quickly adjusted his mentality. After all, a person with a clear conscience is not afraid of his own shadow. He has been a combat wizard for so long, and he knows people. Besides, he, a legitimate wizard of the London Temple, has nothing to worry about. At the same time, he glanced at Strange next to him. Seeing that his face was normal, he nodded slightly. Soon, the 3 of them walked to the door of a room. Dang, dang, dang. As the knock on the door sounded, a voice came from inside the room. Come in. The 3 of them entered one by one and saw Master Martin, who was reading at the table. Master Martin was wearing a white plain clothes with a gentle expression and didn't seem serious. He seemed to see something interesting and usually had a faint smile on his face. After the leading wizard brought Toby and Strange in, they quietly left. At this time, Master Martin looked at the 2 people, stood up quickly, and said enthusiastically, "This is Master Toby and Master Strange, right? I have heard of your names for a long time. Master Toby, the traitor you just captured alive has made a smaller contribution to the London Temple's work of detecting traitors." After hearing this, Toby raised his head slightly, and a hint of pride appeared on his face. In any case, hearing praise naturally makes people feel comfortable. Then, Martin turned to Strange and continued to praise him. "Master Strange, this may be the first time we meet. When you were in Kamar-Taj, I heard of your reputation as a genius. You are indeed a genius. It has been less than 2 or 3 months, and your combat power level can be comparable to that of ordinary battle mages. With your joining the London Temple, I believe that it will be more handy to deal with dimensional invasions." Strange looked at Master Martin and praised himself with a smile. For some reason, he felt a little creepy, but it seemed that he thought of something which gave him some confidence. He raised his head slightly and said with some reserve, No, I have gained so much in the London Temple. It is my luck to be able to join the London Temple. Come on, take a seat. Do you like tea or water?" Master Martin waved to receive them, and his movements were still so enthusiastic. He put 2 chairs in front of the table for the 2 of them early. Either is fine. Toby and Strange said at the same time. As Martin waved the hanging ring in his hand, the fragrance of tea began to spread from the cup. At the same time, Ding sat in his seat with a notebook in his hand. This time, I asked you 2 to come here, which is just a routine inquiry. Don't worry, this is also my job. Every wizard will do this. Next, just answer a few simple questions for me. Toby, Strange and the other man sat at the table and looked at the tea in the cup. They didn't move, but nodded to indicate their agreement. 2 wizards. The first question is very simple. Did you know the 2 traitor wizards we captured this time? Or to what extent? Are you familiar with each other? Both wizards know each other and have had drinks with us before, but we are not close friends. Toby thought for a moment and replied directly. I do know Master Lauren. He recommended some books to me when I borrowed books before. As for the other Master Luke, I just met him before. At this point, Strange paused and explained casually, I have only been in the London Temple for 2 months. I have only met many mages and know each other's names. I'm familiar with the mages who participated in the mission with me. Martin seemed to have no doubts about the answers of the 2 people. He nodded, wrote a line of text with a pen, and then looked up and asked, 2 mages, can you describe the process of your arrest of the traitor today? I need a simple record. I fought against Master Lauren. Ron's strength is weaker than mine, but he has more methods and various magics, which made me a little anxious. However, after all, his strength is limited. Master Toby told Martin about his battle process in detail. Martin also wrote down the record with a pen. When Master Toby's voice fell, both of them turned their eyes to Stranglin. I was fighting against Master Luke, who was stronger than me and had much more experience in close combat. Strange also described his own battle process, explaining that due to his lack of experience, Luke seized the opportunity to escape. Oh, then this traitor Luke is really lucky. Master Martin made a simple comment after listening. Then, I have a small question. Why not let Master Toby fight against the traitor Luke? Master Strange may have just joined the London Temple not long ago, and his strength is weaker than Master Luke. Martin's tone was mixed with doubts, and he seemed a little puzzled. This is the battle plan I proposed. Thinking about the problem, his heart skipped a beat after hearing it, so he quickly said, I originally thought that Toby would catch Lauren first, and I would entangle Luke here. Wait until the special wizard has dealt with Lauren before coming to support me. Yes, I think this plan is still very good. Toby on the side also added, I have fought with Lauren before, and I know he is weaker than me, but I didn't expect Lauren to have so many tricks and actually hold me back. Unexpectedly, it actually gave Luke a chance to escape. At this point, Toby's face showed annoyance. Martin nodded after hearing it, and did not continue to ask. It seemed that he already knew what he wanted. This made Strange feel a little relieved. Then, he asked the 2 people several questions in succession. For example, after they received the task, did they go out immediately? Or, in the process of arresting the traitor, did they find any abnormal behavior from them? In addition, did they feel that other wizards had behaved abnormally in the recent period of time? Toby and Strange answered several questions in succession. After all, they were just telling the truth. When they met Martin, he didn't seem to be too entangled in a certain issue, and his attitude was more gentle. Most of the time, he just kept writing down the content of the conversation. In this way, Toby and Strange looked relieved. It seemed that calling them over to investigate was not as strict as imagined. Then, as before, Martin, as if chatting, seemed to complain. It's good for the London Temple to lead this group of traitors. There are all kinds of resources and magic. I didn't expect that he would choose to betray when he couldn't satisfy them. What about becoming a free man, getting rid of the shackles of gods, devouring and so on? How can there be pure freedom in life? Some people use the bright coat of freedom to cover up their dirty purposes. Don't you think so, 2 wizards? Chapter 617 Return to the Kingdom of Vishanti. Free from the gods, free. Hearing these words, Strange's heart suddenly jumped. Yes, this is the words of the group of fallen wizards to lure traitors, including what he said. Basically, it emphasizes that all gods are the same, and they all live on the souls of believers. It's just that evil gods like Dormammu and Mephisto act earlier and use more cruel methods. For example, they directly devour or refine soul essence, or become puppets of faith. And gods like Vishanti, who are more orderly, use softer methods. That is to say, they will only guide the soul after death, or transform it into a holy spirit, similar to the existence of angels. Of course, the essence is almost the same, becoming a puppet. It's just that one has lost his mind, and the other can barely retain a part. When the cruel side of the dimensional gods was revealed, many wizards were moved, including Strange. A genius like him is not interested in becoming a puppet for life, even after death. And when the fallen wizard proposed a secret method to cut off and deceive Vishanti's connection, it became the first step to induce depravity. When you choose to trade with a corrupted wizard, it may be just a small matter at first, but then, it is like a devil. Step by step, you go to the abyss. Forbidden advanced magic, mysterious chaos magic, the opportunity to become a god. One by one, you fall deeper and deeper. And the original source is the slogan of getting rid of gods and being free. This is pure nonsense. Toby the wizard on the side said carelessly. Mage Martin, you are right. How can one learn magic without paying a price? Who knows what evil gods those fallen mages may have made deals with? I'm afraid their final souls will fall into the hands of those evil gods. What's more, Kamar-Taj believes in order, and its duty is to protect the earth from the prying eyes of dimensional evil gods. If every one of our mages has such selfish thoughts, I'm afraid the entire earth would have fallen long ago. Can we still learn magic? I'm afraid that the soul of each of us is in the eyes of those evil gods. It's pure nonsense. I think they are too selfish. They take themselves too seriously and come up with a lot of high-sounding reasons to cover up their selfishness. At this point, Mage Toby spoke righteously, and his voice rose a little. Everyone must die, and no one can escape it. As mages of Kamar-Taj, the day we die heroically in battle is the day we return to the kingdom of Vishanti and Agamotto. Martin's eyes lit up when he heard Toby's words, which could not be more orthodox. Good comrade, you are indeed a Kamar-Taj wizard with a good family background. Yes, another meaning of Master Toby's good family background is that he has been learning magic in Kamar-Taj since he was a child, and his parents don't know whether they are alive or dead. He has enjoyed the most orthodox Kamar-Taj education. As he said just now, Kamar-Taj never avoids the fact that wizards will die, and even die in battle. However, they are all for protecting the earth and guarding peace. And after their death, just like the legend of Asgard's death in battle and entering Valhalla, after their heroic death, they will also return to the kingdom of Vishanti and Agamotto. This is the inner support point of many Kamar-Taj wizards when facing death. After hearing this, Strange on the side changed his eyes slightly. He naturally knew what Master Toby said, but because he was a latecomer, he was more inclined to think that this was Kamar-Taj's baptism of the wizard's thinking. In short, it is brainwashing. After all, before he joined Kamar-Taj, he was a neurosurgeon with a double doctorate. What do you think, Master Strange? Master Martin asked Strange. From his interested eyes, it was not difficult to see that he was quite curious about Strange's answer. After all, this genius was famous both inside and outside Kamar-Taj, especially since he had only joined Kamar-Taj for less than a year. I think so too, Master Martin. They are simply using such confusing slogans to lure ordinary mages to fall and provide them with information. Strange's mind was filled with the fallen mage's request for information, and he continued to answer. This group of fallen mages obviously have a very thorough plan. They just want to recruit cannon fodder to find out the truth about the London Temple, and by the way, they can also disrupt some arrangements of the temple. Hearing Strange's calm analysis, Master Martin's expression moved, staring at Strange, and signaled him to continue. They spread some rumors mixed with truth and falsehood to intimidate and confuse those wizards who have no independent thinking ability. Based on the extent to which they develop traitors in the London Temple, I'm sure that they definitely have a big plan in London. This plan is very important to them, so they have to sneak into the London Temple to steal intelligence. Moreover, they must have communicated with the dimensional evil gods. Hearing Strange's affirmative tone, Master Martin recalled some information that the guarding wizard Darnold told him. Why are you so sure, Master Strange? It can be seen from their slogan of getting rid of the gods. Strange looked at Martin's gaze and replied, they dare to shout such slogans, which means that they must have mastered the secret method of relevant information. And being able to contact these means that there is a high probability that they have communicated with the dimensional evil gods. Even if not, they may have obtained some information between the evil gods. Oh, Martin said softly, as if he was not interested in it. At this moment, Strange also began to stop talking, as if he felt that he had said too much. Could it be that he was a little too excited? At some point, a small purple incense burner appeared next to the table, emitting a faint aroma. 2 wizards, the questioning is over for now, and I can go back. By the way, the content of our communication today should not be spread to others, Martin said calmly. Toby and Strange nodded, then stood up, and walked out of the house. With a slight thud, the door closed. Martin lay on the chair, staring at the incense burner next to the table with a faint fragrance, his eyes dim. As an interrogator, his methods are taboo-free. The fragrance in the incense burner has the effect of inducing people to tell the truth. Just like Toby's rather impassioned words just now, and Strange's head. Of course, if the other party restrains himself and tells a lie, he can also find out from the subtle details. This strange wizard is interesting. I don't know what he is hiding. Chapter 618 Strange. I'm undercover. London, British Library. The world-renowned British Library is always full of customers. At this moment, people are coming and going inside the library, but they all keep their voices down, and the footsteps become lighter. It seems that in such a place and such an atmosphere, making any noisy sounds is an indecent behavior. There are many tables in the library, or rather, you can see some tables every few steps. There are more or less people reading on the tables. There are young men, beautiful women, and old people wearing glasses. At this moment, in addition to reading books, they are also typing on the keyboard, typing line after line of text on the computer. It seems that they are doing some work. Step, step, step. A subtle sound of footsteps sounded, and a middle-aged man in a black suit walked towards the desk in the corner near the window. There was a man in front of the desk. He was looking down, carefully flipping through the books in front of him. And this middle-aged man in a suit sat down safely and stared at the mage who was still reading with his head down. Master Strange, I didn't expect you to meet me here. Of course. Strange raised his head and looked at the familiar face in front of him. Almost everyone knows what you are doing now. I'm taking a great risk to meet you now. Hearing this, the middle-aged fallen wizard's face froze slightly, but after looking around, he smiled and said, that's right. No one would have thought that we would meet in the British Library. TSK, you are worthy of being Master Strange. You have a flexible mind. Don't talk about these nonsense. The day before yesterday, I released one of your people here. This is my sincerity. Now, don't forget what I wanted before. Of course, I will never forget this. The middle-aged wizard said with a smile. The secret method is ready. As long as you sign the contract, I will offer it with both hands at any time. Yes, what Strange wants is a secret method that can block, or even cut off the attention of the gods. However, although the fallen wizard is willing to trade this secret method, there must be strict requirements. This requirement is nothing else but a contract. Sign a contract and never disclose the secret method and the relevant information of the fallen wizard. Otherwise, just like the traitorous mage Lauren before, he hadn't spoken yet, but his mind was just flashing, and he ended up with a brain explosion. The contract is very strict, and Strange certainly won't sign it casually. Even if there is no factor of submission involved, it is just pure confidentiality. Strange was hesitant when he heard this. At the beginning, he felt that this contract was not a good thing. Now seeing the fate of those traitorous mages, he felt even more away from this kind of contract. Master Strange, you know, we use the contract only for confidentiality, not involving anything else. Seeing the hesitation on Strange's face, the middle-aged fallen mage immediately persuaded. Which mage would be worried about signing a contract? But they naturally have means, and a pure confidentiality contract can easily lower their vigilance. As long as they get the secret method, the core resources needed later will not be provided by them. As long as there is a demand, there will be a transaction. After the transaction, from small to large, step by step, won't it become their shape? Strange is still hesitant. Before, he also had transactions with this group of mages, but they were all small ones. Basically, it does not involve leaking important information. Even if the other party proposed to obtain some key and important intelligence, he would directly refuse. Therefore, he only obtained more relevant information about chaos magic from these fallen wizards, at most 1 or 2 magics. However, it is obvious that to obtain this kind of key secret method involving shielding the gods, it is still necessary to sign a contract to strengthen the connection. To be honest, Strange said that he did not want this secret method, which was absolutely false. However, it is also true that he did not want to sign a contract. If the contract is really signed, it will be really troublesome later. At this moment, suddenly, his expression changed slightly. Okay. Strange hesitated for a moment, then nodded and agreed. However, I need to read the contract again. And it must include the authenticity and integrity of the secret method, and the cultivation resources you need to provide me. He is not stupid. What if the other party gave a secret method that is incomplete, or made some false at the key points? Although he is known as a genius, he has not yet learned magic. In 1 year, it is enough to match these wizards who have studied for most of their lives. If the other party really wants to fool him, who knows, he might be able to fool him. So it must be true and complete, without any omissions. Of course, if some special resources are needed, the other party must also provide them. Otherwise, what is the difference between this and an incomplete secret method? Facing Strange's request, the middle-aged fallen wizard frowned. There is nothing wrong with wanting to ensure the authenticity, effectiveness, and completeness of the secret method. Basically, every wizard will make similar requests. But the other party wants resources. If they are really given, how can they cooperate in the future? Master Strange, don't worry, the secret method is absolutely complete, and this can be clearly stated in the contract. However, we have collected the resources at great risk. You sign a contract, and then you can get it by just opening your mouth. Do you think your requirements are a bit high? The tone of the fallen wizard was a little dissatisfied. Strange said, it's not that I have high requirements, but the risk of cooperating with you is also very high. Everyone knows about your troubles now. The London Temple is investigating them one by one. A lot of people who believed in you have died. Hearing this, the middle-aged Dowlow Mage's face suddenly turned cold, as if his pain point was suddenly touched. Seeing this, Strange immediately spoke to ease the situation and said, in fact, I mainly want to practice the secret method quickly and get rid of the shackles of the gods. I know that what I want may be a little too much for you. It's good that you know. The middle-aged mage snorted. But you should also know that the risk I take is huge. Every mage is trying to protect themselves now. Is there any mage willing to continue to provide you with some valuable information like me? Hearing this, the fallen mage's face eased a little, but he still said, that's not why you asked for so many important resources. Okay, I understand. Strange said, then how about this? You give me a resource that can be used for cultivation first. At least let me verify the authenticity of the secret method first, and it is effective for me to practice. That's always okay. In response, the mage was silent for a long time, as if thinking about the value of Strange, or communicating with some existence. Finally, okay, I can give you the first batch of cultivation resources for free. After the practice is successful, the rest can only be obtained through transactions. The contract is here, take a look. If there is no problem, sign it. At this time, the tone of the fallen mage was a little stiff. He felt as if he was blackmailed. However, due to the current tense situation, they really need a genius like Strange. Strange looked at the parchment on the table and studied the text on it. Okay, Oklahoma. At the same time, Strange's spiritual power surged out and fell on the parchment, signing the contract. The fallen wizard on the opposite side seemed to feel that the contract was signed with a soul, and a smile appeared on his face. The contract was signed, and the next step was a matter of course. However, he did not seem to notice that at the moment Strange signed the contract, a colorful dream light quietly emerged, as if The Power of Dreams. Chapter 619 Thor comes to London. Master Strange, the secret method has been given to you. You can study it first. I will send someone to deliver the subsequent resources to you. Okay, I will contact you later when I get valuable information. After a brief exchange, Strange watched the middle-aged fallen wizard turn around and leave. When the fallen wizard's figure completely disappeared, buzz, colorful light flashed, and the space seemed to be distorted. The figure on the chair where Strange was sitting turned into bubbles and disappeared, but a short ugly house elf appeared. At the same time, not far from Strange's desk, 3 familiar figures emerged. 2 were sitting and 1 was standing. The 2 sitting were Lockhart and Arnold. The standing one was Strange Stevenson. At this moment, Strange looked at his original position with surprise in his eyes. Yes, although he had some contact with the fallen wizards, he was also very interested in the secret method of cutting the connection with the gods in their hands. However, he did not intend to sell himself for these things. It was not because he was worried about being caught, or because he looked down on the fallen wizards. It's just that it's not worth it. They use these things to tempt him to betray Kamar-Taj. Who are they looking down on? To put it bluntly, as a genius, he can be comparable to a battle mage who has been trained for many years in just less than a year. He is very confident that he will become a top mage in the future. But now he chooses to betray Kamar-Taj for a secret method that he doesn't know whether it is true or false. It's a bit worthless. Although those secret methods seem good, it is not impossible for him to obtain other similar secrets in the future. After all, he has only been studying magic for less than a year. He is very confident and proud of this. So when these traitors contacted him, he did not refuse. Thinking that if he could deceive the so-called secret method in their mouths, it would be a good choice. But just in case, he still contacted Lockhart and contacted Master Arnold through Lockhart's relationship. After all, Lockhart had been his teacher for a period of time before. Through such a transit channel, I believe that Master Arnold would not say much even if he knew. After all, Lockhart's reputation is more useful in the whole Kamar-Taj. Otherwise, if he directly contacted Master Arnold, who knows what would happen. Although he would not be directly classified as a traitor, he would probably be subject to some restrictions and even complete some special tasks. He didn't want that. He cherished his life very much. For example, he was particularly disgusted by the fact that he had signed a contract with the Fallen Law. Fortunately, Teacher Lockhart helped him to avoid signing the contract. Otherwise, after signing the contract, all kinds of worries would be inevitable. Strange, although I used the illusion to let the elf sign the contract on your behalf and deceive their contract restrictions. However, if you come into close contact with the owner of the contract, there is still the accident of being discovered, Lockhart said, and at the same time, he waved his hand, and in an instant, a black shadow flashed, and the house elf stood on Lockhart's side. Lockhart stretched out his wand, gently tapped the elf's head, pulled back, and a grey silk thread slowly emerged. The magic wand was simply waved in the air, and the grey silk thread turned into a grey ring. It slowly fell into Strange's hand. Keep this ring. This is the aura I collected from the contract. It is enough to make it look real. That's great. Thank you, Mr. Lockhart. Strange said quickly, his eyes full of surprise. It's better to have Master Lockhart. This way, he can get the secrets and resources of the fallen wizard for free. He doesn't have to worry about being restricted by the contract, and he doesn't have to be beaten into the ranks of the temple traitors. Arnold, who was standing aside, saw the surprised Strange, and reminded him in a deep voice, Strange, don't forget your mission. We need you to go undercover among the fallen wizards, and provide us with enough information. Then, Arnold hesitated a little, but still said, as for the secrets of the fallen wizards, they still need to be handed over to Kamar-Taj. If you want to practice, you also need to report in advance. Yes, the pursuit of freedom that the fallen wizard shouted is very popular, otherwise there wouldn't be so many traitors. He didn't think Strange was so content, otherwise he wouldn't have shouted about going to the dimensional gap as soon as he arrived at the London temple. Okay, Master Arnold, I will report the situation I encounter in real time. Strange promised. Fortunately, he found Master Lockhart. Otherwise, if he reported directly to Arnold, it might be difficult for him to get these secrets for free. Ahem. Arnold, I have something else to do here. You two can discuss the next thing. If you need me to do anything, just come to me. Lockhart coughed lightly and interrupted. Seeing the two nodded, he turned and left. He really had something to do, and it was not small. London, Vincian Castle. When preparing to mobilize most of the forces of the Vincian world to come to London, Lockhart directly purchased a new station. To be precise, he directly purchased a castle in the suburbs. There are still many castles in the UK, but many of them have been abandoned and are in the suburbs. Recently, many nobles have become lonely in the modern era and have no ability to repair their family castles. Many families chose to sell them. Lockhart took the opportunity to buy an old castle with a relatively large space as a new residence for his students. At this moment, some young wizards were sitting cross-legged on the lawn in the castle, staring at the strong and handsome blonde Asgardian in front of them wearing a red cloak. Yes, the familiar blonde hair was Thor. I once fought with a fierce dragon in the green source forest of Vanaheim. That dragon was very fierce. Many Vanaheim people joined forces to kill it, but they were swallowed instead. When I met it, I smashed its head with a hammer. Bang, it didn't react at all, and its brain was dizzy. Then I called for thunder. Yes, Thor is now bragging about his past experiences with these young wizards with great interest. And these young wizards basically know the relationship between this Prince of Asgard and their mentor. They also know that Thor is a very powerful existence. Therefore, he was very interested in the stories or experiences he told. Seeing these young wizards, with envy and admiration in their eyes, Thor became more excited. At this moment, suddenly, his eyes froze. He saw a familiar figure standing behind the group of young wizards. It was Gilderoy Lockhart. Chapter 620, The Celestial Race. Thor, why are you interested in coming to London? Lockhart asked as he poured a cup of tea for Thor, the god of thunder, sitting in his study. Thor took a sip from the cup, smacked his lips, and felt that the taste was average, not as good as wine. He drank all the tea in the cup in one gulp. Looking at Thor drinking tea, Lockhart's eyes twitched. Is this drinking tea? You are drinking water. However, he also knew the temperament of the Asgardians. I'm afraid that in their eyes, wine is the best. I told you last time that my father asked me to come to Earth in addition to the Vincian world, and also instructed me to do something. Thor said carelessly, as if he believed that Lockhart was his good friend, and that these news were not worth mentioning. Lockhart, maybe you don't know the history of Midgard. No, I know. Lockhart said silently in his heart, and then stared at Thor intently. The birth of the Earth is a very complicated matter. The Earth in ancient times was not as weak and fragile as it is now. A large number of dimensional gods are closely related to the Earth, including our Asgard. Thor poured himself a cup of tea and drank it down in one gulp. However, he knew the key point of teaching Lockhart the problem, so he didn't say much. Lockhart, you can understand that the former Midgard or the Earth has suffered several huge war disasters, which has led to its current degeneration into this state. Despite this, the Earth is still a rare treasure in the eyes of many gods. Basically, they have intervened more or less, and the Celestials started to act a long time ago. They buried a celestial embryo deep in the Earth a long time ago, preparing to use the Earth as nutrients to give birth to the strongest tribe member. Speaking of this, he occasionally seemed to think of Lockhart, who might not know the existence of the Celestials, so he hurriedly introduced him. The Celestials are a very powerful tribe. They are few in number, but extremely powerful. My father Odin is very afraid of them. They are good at creating all kinds of life and use planets as nutrients. Thor began to tell some of the history of the Celestials. It seems that he wants Lockhart to know the dangers of the Celestials and to help him with all his strength in the future. However, how could Lockhart not know the Celestials? Not to mention that there is no introduction to the Celestials in the library of Kamar-Taj. In his previous life, he had seen a movie about the Celestials. Although the plot felt average, the most impressive thing was the magnificent scene of the Celestials being born from the Earth. With planets as eggshells and the center of the Earth as nutrients, they are basically gods at birth. The gods here do not refer to pseudo-gods like Asgard, but real dimensional gods. It can be said that the Celestials are really blessed by nature and enviable. Others may seek a destination that they may not be able to reach in their lifetime. It is just the starting point of the Celestials. It is conceivable how powerful the Celestials are. However, this is at the expense of one high-quality planet after another. Lockhart speculated from the Kamar-Taj secretary and his own past life memories. Lockhart, I need your help. According to the divination of the divination wizard, the gods may always wake up early. London is the key. He is very likely to be a core of the gods. We need to be vigilant and need the help of local wizards like you. Lockhart, join our team. I believe that with your joining, we will be able to solve the problems of the gods. Chua reached forward across the desk, as if to invite Lockhart. After seeing this, Lockhart reached out and shook his hand directly, and at the same time, he continued to say, of course, the safety of the earth is everyone's responsibility. This is what we Kamar-Taj wizards should do. He couldn't refuse Thor, not to mention the honeymoon relationship between the Vincian world and Asgard. Just say that he owed Thor a lot of favors, and he trusted him so much, how could he refuse? And, Thor, I have something to tell you. I wonder if it is related to what you said. In London, a group of fallen wizards are holding some kind of large-scale sacrifice recently. They seem to want to become gods. At this time, coupled with what you said, I have to wonder if there is some connection between the two. Yes, too many things happened in London. The London Temple is in London, not to mention that the fallen wizards mobilized all their forces to run to London, and then Asgard followed and came to their own world of Vincian to mix in. By the way, there is also an agent organization like S.H.I.E.L.D. Alas, a small London almost involves all the forces of the entire Earth's extraordinary world. This has to make people start to associate. Fallen wizard? Thor was a little confused, but he didn't think for long, and said carelessly, if there is a connection, catch them all, and interrogate them one by one. That's it. Well, the strategy is still a distance away from Thor. If he could be caught, he would have been caught long ago. Seeing Lockhart silent, Chua seemed to have discovered the reason and smiled awkwardly. He quickly poured himself a glass of water and drank it to hide his embarrassment. Lockhart, do you have any information about the fallen wizards, or do you have any related items for them? There is a divination wizard with good strength who came with me this time. Maybe he can help a little. Thor suddenly spoke, his eyes lit up, and quietly told Lockhart the method he thought of. After hearing this, Thor nodded, said let's try, and then changed the subject. If they could really divine the location, they would have captured them long ago. If Asgard could gain something, it would naturally be great. Bang, bang, bang. Several colorful light bullets suddenly appeared and shot towards Ian on the opposite side at a speed faster than lightning. Seeing this, Ian waved his wand and cast apparition to leave here. However, the magic power had just pried the space, and a hidden space fluctuation covered the surroundings, and the space power that had just been pried subsided instantly. Ian was slightly stunned by this, and then strode back. Step, step, step. Heavy footsteps were heard, but the sound became smaller and smaller, because Ian had already flown into the sky to avoid the attack. However, these colorful balls of light seemed to have intelligence, automatically flying into the sky and chasing Ian. Ian waved the wand in his hand and cast several armor spells in a row to defend the surroundings. The colorful chaos balls of light shot towards the light golden armor spell. Under Ian's urging, the armor spell emitted a dazzling golden light, as if trying its best to hinder the attack of these energy balls of light. However, as if nothing, the colorful chaos balls of light passed through one defense after another. It landed on Ian's forehead and remained motionless. Seeing this, Ian seemed to say in a low voice, okay, Wanda, I lose this time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621 Scarlet Witch chases Doctor Strange. In the past, I and Wanda were tied, and I even had the upper hand. I didn't expect that. If I didn't use my base now, I would not be Wanda's opponent at all. Even if I used it, I would probably fail. This made Ian feel a little disappointed. He asked himself if he was hardworking and diligent, and his qualifications were not bad. But compared with these gifted monsters who seemed to be fed by God, there was still a long way to go. Congratulations, Wanda, this time it's a blessing in disguise. Ian quickly adjusted his mentality and congratulated Wanda with a smile. After hearing this, Wanda also had a smile on her face, but soon, she took it back. Her strength was exchanged for her life, not only her, but also those mages of Kamar-Taj. She was attacked by her trusted companions, and the entire team was completely destroyed except for her. In any case, for Wanda at this moment, the impact on her heart was very great. For a time, she recalled the life of wandering before she learned magic from Lockhart. Seeing Wanda's silence, Ian obviously knew the reason. The death of his teammates was not because of death in battle, but because of a despicable sneak attack. No, it should be said to be betrayal. Whoever encounters such a thing, there will be changes in their hearts. However, this is also a stage in life, and time will wear away all emotions. Ian, is there a mission to kill the traitor today? Wanda asked. Her tone was a little urgent, and Ian shook his head helplessly and persuaded. Wanda, the teacher said that you should not rush to deal with the traitor's affairs. Stabilize your state first. This time you are a blessing in disguise, but you have not yet fully controlled your own power, and you still need to stabilize. Yes, why did Ian practice with Wanda? Isn't it just to help Wanda control her power? The power of dreams and the power of chaos merge and transform with each other. Any one of these two kinds of magic can make a mage embark on the path of a top mage. What's more, Wanda merged the two. The further transformation of power not only brought powerful control, but also the difficulty began to soar. Therefore, Lockhart did not let Wanda participate in the London Temple's capture of traitors, but let him exercise and control his own power. But obviously, Wanda was unwilling. I don't know if it was the influence of the chaos magic itself that induced chaos. From time to time, she recalled the scene of her teammates being ambushed and killed. The anger in her heart could not stop burning, and the killing intent was surging. She wanted to see blood now, and wanted to see the blood of those fallen wizards and traitors. Okay. After a silence, Wanda nodded. But looking at her flickering eyes, it seems that it is not as simple as she said. At night, London. Wanda and Vera, two beautiful women, walked hand in hand in front of the shopping streets of London like best friends. Like many women, from time to time, they entered the surrounding shops to buy beautiful clothes or exquisite jewelry. Perhaps, women all over the world are the same, unable to escape the temptation of beautiful jewelry and clothes. This one, this one, this one, and this one. I like them all. Pack them for me. Vera pointed to the starry sky-colored skirt, the white shirt, the crimson long skirt, etc. and said generously. She didn't care about the 5-digit prices below. The shopping guide saw such a generous Vera. Her face was almost smiling like a flower, and several service staff were packing. At this moment, Vera looked at Wanda who was frowning, and comforted her. It's okay, Wanda, don't worry. Come, I just saw a crimson long skirt. It's very beautiful, especially suitable for your figure. Try it later. Wanda nodded. Her face was still serious. She closed her eyes, as if sensing something. After seeing this, Vera sighed helplessly. None of those traitorous wizards can escape after all. Relax a little, Wanda. Maybe relaxing a little will help you to divine the location of the traitor. Yes, Ian strictly abided by the orders of Master Lockhart, and did not let Wanda get in touch with the traitor wizard. But Wanda was not patient. She directly dragged her bestie out of the London Temple to capture the traitor wizard. After the fusion and transformation of the power of dreams and the chaos magic, the characteristics of the power of dreams that could be transformed into thousands of incarnations and the characteristics of the chaos magic that could pry open concepts merged with each other. In addition, after meeting with the fallen wizard before, Wanda had the confidence to divine the traces of the traitor wizard. So she dragged Vera along. Vera wanted to refuse at first. After all, the mentor suggested that Wanda should focus on controlling her own power. However, she also knew that Wanda was in a low mood recently, so she wanted to take this opportunity to ease Wanda's negative emotions. So there was this scene in front of us. Vera dragged Wanda to spend money on this prosperous street and buy everything she liked. Okay. Facing Vera's comfort, Wanda simply uttered a word, then kept silent, and even closed her eyes directly, feeling the breath of the fallen wizard. With the ever-changing characteristics of the power of dreams, Wanda can easily simulate the relevant breath of the fallen wizard. He used the chaotic magic after the transformation to find out if there was a similar existence within his sensing range. As long as there was, even if it was just a little bit, Wanda would go forward to explore. At this moment, Wanda opened her eyes and looked to the southeast. She just felt two breaths. One was familiar, and the other was not unfamiliar. And the direction she saw was exactly the location of the British Library. British Library. The library at night has as many people as during the day, and it may even be that at night more people have free time to come to the library. At this moment, because the ordinary looking young man was holding a cup of coffee, reading a book, and tasting it gently. On the opposite side, the fallen wizard Milton was staring at Strange's unfamiliar face. Although he knew that the other party was a genius, he had mastered a disguise magic so quickly that he could not find any traces without careful investigation. Some were surprised or jealous. Envy and hatred. Strange, you sent a message saying that there is important information. What information? Looking at Strange's comfortable expression, the fallen wizard Milton asked seriously. Don't worry, this news is absolutely very important, and it will even change your layout in the UK. If you don't know, you will definitely suffer a great loss. I can sign a contract to guarantee this. What news? Hearing this, the fallen wizard was suddenly shocked. What kind of information would make Strange say that they would suffer a great loss? No hurry, no hurry. Strange picked up the silver spoon, gently stirred in the coffee cup, and said leisurely, tell me first, what can you use to make a deal? This piece of information can even directly affect your fate. It's worth a lot of money, right? Chapter 622 Scarlet Witch chases Doctor Strange. In the center of London, a secret underground room. There is a huge underground space dug out deep underground in the center of London. The space can be said to be very large and spacious, but the overall decoration is a bit sloppy. It can be seen that it was dug out not long ago. The walls, floors, etc. around are all made of marble. Apart from that, there are basically not many buildings. On the ceiling, every few meters, there is a bright ball of light emitting a soft light, illuminating the entire secret room. However, on the marble floor of the secret room, a large number of blood-colored stripes can be seen everywhere. What is even more horrifying is that if you zoom in, you will find a huge pool of blood dug out near the edge of this secret room. It seems that the entire blood pool completely surrounds the secret room. The blood pool is full of bright red blood, as if it has spirituality and flows continuously like a river. What is even more bizarre is that these blood pools not only do not have the unique bloody smell and fishy smell of blood, but instead emit a faint fragrance. It seems to be some kind of essence quenching and tonic. The blood in these blood pools flows along the blood-colored stripes on the marble floor. Looking from the ceiling, these tracks are like rivers, and bright red blood keeps flowing in the displayed tracks. It looks very evil. In the center of the entire secret room, the fallen wizard David, with his eyes closed, sat cross-legged on a cushion, as if meditating. The second step to becoming a god is to perceive a certain concept, combine magic power with the concept, and lay the foundation for controlling authority. And how can a wizard easily perceive something as illusory as a concept? Even if their soul and mental power are recommended, this is just a preliminary sensing threshold. There are many ways to assist in sensing concepts, which require the help of some special resources, or some specific sensing secrets, or even the power of gods. For David, there are currently two ways to achieve it. The first is to use the power of the origin of dusk in his hand for sensing. The second is to use the blood sacrifice secret method to assist himself in sensing the concept authority. And David's choice is to do both at the same time. Children only do multiple choice questions, adults want all. Now the situation has begun to deviate from the original idea, and he has not left much time to correct it one by one. He needs to enter the second step as completely as possible. The deeper the control of the concept, the more solid the foundation will be. Therefore, he will do his best to achieve perfection. He thought so, and other fallen wizards who got the second step of becoming a god thought the same way. Therefore, Lockhart searched the whole of London and found that tens of thousands of people disappeared without a trace. This is just London, and there are probably still many people who disappeared in other cities. These disappeared people have become consumables for the blood sacrifice ceremony of the fallen wizards. As the leader, David naturally got the most consumables. There is also a pool of blood in front of him. These are the essences extracted from the blood, and the souls are integrated into it. With these soul-compatible blood as fuel, David feels that the speed of his touch of concepts is like a car on the cloud, reckless and rampant. In one word, cool. At this moment, David has a dark yellow ball of light floating in front of him, and blood-colored threads are faintly intertwined around it. These blood-colored threads are moving slowly along a certain specific trajectory, matching the dark yellow light, which looks a bit evil. Suddenly, David, who had closed his eyes to sense the concept, opened his eyes, frowned slightly, and reviewed the message that had just been sent. Chief, a temple mage here said that there is very important news. He claims to directly affect all our plans. The most important thing is that he wants a lot of precious resources in exchange for information. Listening to his fallen mage reporting the situation like this, David's face was a little ugly. This is fleecing him. They are now trying every means to enhance their own strength, and resources are already in short supply. As a result, someone actually wants to fleece him. How can this be tolerated? Moreover, this is a downline they developed before. What does it mean? This is preparing to rebel against the superior. David thought coldly in his heart. Although he is very supportive of the development of downlines, and has brought them a lot of help. However, he will never tolerate such blackmail. Yes, the fallen mage who just sent the message sent out a series of conditions that Strange wanted. Secret methods, resources, etc. That is really a lion's mouth. However, the news from Strange also aroused David's curiosity. Now the situation is out of David's control, so he needs more information to help him make decisions. Intelligence is extremely important, especially as Strange said, news that can affect the direction of the war. He thinks it is still necessary to know. British Library. Strange glanced at the fallen wizard who closed his eyes opposite him, said nothing, and continued to pick up the coffee, and took a sip. He shook his head, as if enjoying the delicious coffee. He was not in a hurry, really not in a hurry. How could such important information not make the fallen wizard pay a price? He tried the secret method that the fallen wizard had taught him before. Although it has not reached the point of cutting the attention of the gods, it has begun to deceive Vishanda's perception. Shape yourself into the role of a novice wizard, then cheat Vishanda's gift of magic. As we all know, the magic quality of the first batch of magic that Vishandi gave to the wizard is the highest and quite pure. These are all to help the wizard lay the foundation for casting spells. After Strange saw this feature, many ideas suddenly emerged in his mind. And now the secret method of deceiving the gods can be said to help him further realize his ideas. To be frank, his strength has risen a lot. Well, this is genius. When he reviewed in his mind, suddenly saw the eyes of the wizard opposite him opened. However, what surprised Strange the most was how the other party's aura changed so much all of a sudden. It was as if there were two people. Hello, Master Strange. You can call me David. What, David, the first fallen? Strange was shocked and a little unbelievable. Where is Master Milton? I just communicated with him. Strange asked with a look of doubt. The first fallen. This is a title given to David by Kamar-Taj. Because David is the first fallen wizard, and he deals with evil gods, luring other wizards to fall together. So, he was given such a title. However, meeting the big boss of the fallen wizard, or the other party coming in person, was somewhat beyond Strange's expectations. Don't worry, Master Milton is busy with his own affairs. I will communicate with you next. David said so, but Strange's face was still alert. So he calmly explained, the body you see is one of the walking puppets we made. It is to prevent the loss of life by a single attack by some wizards. We have our own secret method to remotely control the puppets, to achieve the same effect. Hearing this, Strange nodded slowly as if he understood. David breathed a sigh of relief, and finally, he continued, Milton has told me what happened just now. I have to say, Master Strange, you have successfully aroused my interest. I'm here now. Now you can tell me what information you have in your hand. Hearing this, Strange's mouth curled up a smile, seeming a little proud. The news in his hand made the leader of the fallen wizards unable to ignore it, and they all had to come in person. However, Strange lowered his head and took a sip of the coffee in the cup, as if to cover up his inner pride. Soon, he adjusted his mentality and looked at David opposite with a serious face. Captain David, since you are here in person, don't worry about the value of the news. I can sign a contract to guarantee that it is correct and important. However, do you think the conditions I proposed before are okay? Hearing this, Dayway couldn't help but feel a little headache. Of course he knew about the resources, but he didn't intend to give so much. Because Strange did have a bit of a lion's mouth. He didn't want to be a sucker. After all, they were hit by the full force of the London Temple, and now their resources are relatively limited. However, he couldn't give up the latest news. Especially the other party's news, which is very likely to affect the next battle. He could only stare at Strange on the opposite side coldly and slowly release his pressure. In an instant, Strange felt a huge pressure coming from the opposite side, and it seemed that even his waist couldn't help but bend a little. Don't refuse a toast and drink a penalty. He could easily read this line of words from the other party's cold eyes. But he didn't care at all, just lowered his head and continued to drink the coffee in the cup in small sips. Risk and return are always equal. As the saying goes, the bigger the wind and waves, the more expensive the fish. Even if it also arouses David's hostility, it is undoubtedly worth it compared to the benefits that can be obtained. Especially, he is still an undercover agent. If he doesn't make a good profit from such a good opportunity, he will be really stupid. Master Strange, don't forget that we helped you get rid of the shackles of Vishanti. David looked at Strange opposite him and knocked. After hearing this, Strange's face became a little ugly. What is the meaning behind such words? He must be unaware. It's nothing more than threatening him. Don't forget who he is now. It seems that he also noticed that Strange's face became ugly. David didn't want to make the situation worse, so he spoke to ease the situation. We are not without the resources you want. But when we do things, we always pay attention to an equal exchange and fairness. This is our principle. Maybe the information you have is valuable enough, but we also need to understand how valuable it is before we can make a value judgment. Don't worry, we will never treat any wizard who provides high value intelligence unfairly. Hearing what David said, Strange was a little unmoved. Cultivation also consumes resources. He couldn't possibly give up such a good opportunity to make money. If he really told the information, he would be at the mercy of the other party. What could he do if the other party found a seemingly reasonable reason? Could it be that he was going to go against the fallen wizard? Don't forget who he is now. However, if he really gave David such critical information at a bargain price, he would be a little unwilling. David seemed to notice the change in Strange's heart and immediately changed his words. Of course, if you want to confirm the resources in advance, we can discuss it here. However, the value of the information is still uncertain, and we are willing to take out some resources to buy it directly. Faced with Strange's almost blackmail list, David first knocked on Strange to confuse his mind, and then gave a worst result, to threaten or remind him. Then, he gave a relatively medium plan, to try to persuade Strange to hand over the information in his hand. After the whole routine, few people can resist it. Strange is no exception. After David showed the worst result, that is, the other party had done something, he proposed a new, seemingly acceptable plan to David. Strange was somewhat moved. He also knew that his request just now was indeed a bit too much. Basically, the other party would not agree to his conditions. And he still said so, just to bargain well. Now, it seems that this is the only way. Although he knew the final result, Strange was still a little unwilling. So he waved the feather pen in his hand again, and made a new list of resources. The resources and secret methods on this list were relatively reasonable. David saw the new list of resources and nodded slightly. This time it was finally more reliable. Just as he nodded, and was about to agree, suddenly, "Damn David, take my sword." As Wanda's angry voice came from a distance, at the same time, several colorful long swords shot towards David. In an instant, David was startled and looked sideways. It was indeed the familiar figure. However, this time there was no Lockhart or Arnold by the other party. However, after sensing the aura of the other party's magic, he felt helpless. His current body was just a puppet, and there was no way to resist. After all, Wanda's strength after transformation should not be underestimated. At this moment, Wanda, after knowing David's familiar aura, was instantly burning with anger and started to attack without hesitation. Vera, who was standing by, felt helpless after seeing this, but she also took action to cover the sight of ordinary people around. At this moment, Strange, after seeing Wanda, especially Wanda, attack David directly, he was shocked, but at the same time he couldn't help but feel fortunate. Fortunately, he changed his appearance this time, and fortunately there was a fool who blocked for him. Without hesitation, he saw David self-destruct and die for him, and immediately prepared to run. Bang! It was just a puppet body. David didn't care. Let Wanda's colorful flying sword pass through his body. After Wanda raised a colorful barrier to defend against the power of the self-detonation, sensing the life breath on David's body dissipated, Wanda set her sights on Strange, who had just escaped. She just sensed that the man who was having an affair with the leader of the fallen mages had a strange familiarity. She seemed to have seen him before, but she just couldn't remember where. Chapter 623, Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange's Battle. Bang! The colorful colors flashed, and Strange's heart suddenly felt a sense of danger, and his face changed wildly. Fortunately, this attack was not aimed at him. I saw several colorful lightsabers emitting sharp edges directly piercing through the opposite wizard David. At this moment, David's body was flashing with a deep yellow light, as if he was defending. With a bang, the long sword directly pierced through David's body defense, and the blood seemed to be under some pressure, and spurted out instantly. Strange, run. Don't waste the opportunity I gave you. A faint voice sounded in Strange's mind, and the next moment, boom. David's puppet body exploded directly, and under his conscious control, the power of the explosion shot towards Wanda. It seemed to be covering for Strange. It was just a puppet body refined for a deal, and it couldn't exert his strength at all. It was better to do a favor to Strange. It seems that Strange's news should be extraordinary, otherwise there would not be pursuer so soon. I don't know if Strange's identity as a temple mage is still useful. Yes, in David's eyes, such a fierce, murderous and merciless attack on the two people, there is no doubt that the root cause is Strange's news. It's impossible that the other party just wandered around and found them and attacked. London is so big, how could it be so coincidental? And the place Strange found is indeed very hidden, which is hard for ordinary people to imagine. It can only be that the London Temple discovered that Strange leaked the news and came to hunt him down. On a street in London, a red flame flashed, attracting the attention of pedestrians around. The next moment, Strange fell on the street in embarrassment, and his clothes were torn everywhere. Damn. Facing Wanda's attack, even with David's self-explosion as a cover, Strange had to flee quickly, because Vera on the side still started to attack him. Violently break through the space and teleport away randomly. Although the speed is very fast, it has suffered a lot of damage. After Strange fell to the ground, he paid no attention to the surprised and even horrified looks of other pedestrians. He stood up with his hands on the ground, staggered a few steps to stabilize his body, and began to raise his hands and wave the hanging ring, trying to return to his safe house. However, buzz. Behind him, a familiar space fluctuation instantly rose, and Strange's face changed wildly. Wanda's attack just now was merciless, and was completely aimed at killing people. He had no confidence in surviving in Wanda's hands. As for exposing his undercover identity, all his previous efforts would be in vain, especially the important resources he discussed with David, which would really be gone. If nothing else, he couldn't give up, just to get more resources for free in the future. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wind blew, and Strange changed the trajectory of the spell, turning into a ball of grey mist and flying away. At the same time, the ground nearby began to change, twisting like a swamp mud soup, and the pedestrians around fled in panic. Some fell directly into it, struggling and howling desperately. "Ah, help, I'm from the Virgil family." Wanda and Vera appeared on the street with the colorful light, and felt a strong sticky and suction force coming from their feet. Looking at the pedestrians struggling around, they couldn't help but frown. As expected of a fallen wizard, he wanted to use this trick to delay their pursuit. It's really bad. Save them. It's a waste of time, especially they have to cleanse their memories. Don't save them. So many people died. It's hard to explain to the temple, especially it will leave a bad image of taking human life lightly. This will have some adverse effects on the mentor. Wanda, you go catch the traitor. I'll take care of this, Vera said in a deep voice. At the same time, he waved his wand to end Strange's magic. After hearing this, Wanda gritted her teeth, glared at the traitor who turned into grey mist, nodded, and flew into the air. No matter what, catch the traitor first. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wind was howling, and Strange was in a hurry when he sensed that Wanda was flying towards him at a very fast speed from behind. He gritted his teeth and cast a forbidden magic to increase his speed. Whoosh. Wanda took a deep breath, and a cold look appeared in her eyes as she watched the traitor getting closer and closer. Suddenly, the other party seemed to have paid a certain price, and his breath suddenly rose, and his speed increased again. Without hesitation, Wanda also began to use the chaos magic to try to pry the concept of speed and bless herself. Why do fallen mages pursue chaos magic? And chaos magic is known as a shortcut to becoming a god. Isn't it just to help mages get in touch with conceptual authority earlier? Whoosh. Wanda was already a long distance behind Strange, and with a whoosh, Wanda's speed increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. And she was getting closer and closer to Strange, and getting closer and closer. This made Strange's heart tremble, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. He had already cast a forbidden spell to escape, but he was still caught up by Wanda. I have heard that Wanda was attacked last time, but it was a blessing in disguise. I didn't expect her strength to increase so quickly. Seeing that he couldn't escape, Strange couldn't help but show reluctance in his eyes. Chaos magic, after this incident, must be completely transformed. I'm afraid that the future powerful wizards can't survive without chaos magic. Suddenly, Strange, who was running forward, stopped and floated in the air, watching Wanda flying towards him. He quickly waved the hanging ring in his hand, and a huge wave of magic power rose. In an instant, a large number of red flame lines appeared in the originally dark night. These red flame lines intertwined at a speed faster than lightning, which was dazzling. It seemed that Strange couldn't escape at this moment, and was ready to fight with Wanda. Seeing this, Wanda on the opposite side couldn't help but slow down and carefully looked at Strange's magic. She could feel that the other party's breath was somewhat familiar, as if she had seen it before, but the other party's face was unusually unfamiliar, and it should not be the other party's true face. Although the magic in front of him was unfamiliar, there was no doubt that it was powerful due to its powerful magic fluctuations and complex magic runes. But a colorful mixed magic shot towards Strange, as if testing the opponent's magic. But Strange didn't care. He was only one step away. Judgment Day. The originally dark night sky suddenly became as bright as day. Fortunately, there was a wilderness below, otherwise it would have blinded ordinary people watching below. At the same time, a majestic pressure that seemed to be similar to that of a god enveloped the surroundings, disrupting all nearby spaces. This made Wanda's face become solemn. At this moment, suddenly, not far away, a black-robed figure quietly emerged. It was David, the leader of the fallen wizards. Chapter 624 Strange. The earth belongs to the earthlings. Seeing Strange and Wanda looking at him with some surprised eyes, David was a little embarrassed. To be honest, when his puppet body exploded, he secretly lurked nearby to watch the development of the situation. The main reason was that this matter was really a bit weird. In a place that almost no one would think of, the two people talked. As a result, Lockhart's students came out to disrupt the situation. Although Wanda mercilessly killed and attacked the two people, David dispelled a lot of doubts. After all, if Strange really had a problem, this Wanda would not be so unwise. With the magic power after the transformation, he could clearly sense Wanda's murderous intentions towards the two people, basically without any adulteration. So, he blew up his puppet body to cover Strange and facilitate his escape. After all, the intelligence has not been obtained, and Strange's death would really be in vain. When his consciousness returned to himself, he couldn't help but watch the development of the situation. To put it bluntly, he still had some doubts about Strange in his heart. So he wanted to see if it would be a self-torture trick to secretly watch. Of course, if Strange hadn't escaped the pursuit, he could have just rescued him. He could have won over the people and traded intelligence. This would have been very beneficial to him no matter what. However, he never expected that Wanda's strength would really improve by leaps and bounds. Strange delayed several times and let Wanda catch up. In the end, he was forced to fight back. Well, in fact, when David first discovered that Strange was cruelly using ordinary people to delay Wanda and Vera's pursuit, his suspicion had become very small. He didn't make a move later, and the point was to win over Strange's people at a critical moment. To subdue this genius wizard. It must be said that David was also envious of Strange's amazing talent. If such a genius could become his subordinate, it would be great. As a result, Strange fought back desperately and cast the forbidden spell, Judgment Day. It completely disrupted all the energy and element around him. His figure was also forced to show up. It can be said that his plan to win back the hearts of the people was interrupted all of a sudden, and it was more likely to arouse Strange's hostility. After all, it is not a good reputation to watch someone die without helping him. Chief, come and help me. After seeing David's figure, Strange was shocked, and then he was delighted and called out directly as the chief. At the same time, the forbidden spell in his hand gradually slowed down. After all, the price to pay for magic that can be named as taboo is definitely not sweet. Now there is such a sucker. No, the boss came to help, and his inner thoughts of casting spells gradually faded. Who made David so powerful? With such a big boss, why did he still desperately cast the forbidden spell? When David heard Strange's address to himself, he couldn't help but feel a little satisfied in his heart. This strange wizard is still very perceptive. With a thought, David just took a light step and appeared beside Strange. So at the same time, David's voice also reached Wanda's ears. Little girl, you are alone this time, and there is no old man on old to help you. This time, for Lockhart's sake, you can go. Chief, why keep her? After hearing this, Strange quickly sent a message. Wanda is one of Lockhart's best students and his right-hand man. If we can get rid of her now, it's like cutting off Lockhart's hand. Well, Strange's cold and sinister tone perfectly showed what a traitor should look like. Compared with Wanda's angry glare, David was very satisfied with Strange's attitude. However, he did not reply to Strange, because he was also smiling bitterly in his heart. He set his sights on the position behind Wanda. At the same time, Lockhart's figure gradually appeared beside Wanda. Strange, I didn't expect that you would betray the London Temple. Are you worthy of Kamar-Taj's training? Lockhart's calm voice gradually sounded, and Strange's face turned pale after hearing it. It seemed that his identity was exposed. Yes, if he could, David would have killed Wanda long ago. Although the last time the two sides met was the first time, Wanda's special performance of being immune to all spells shocked David. However, after all, he was caught off guard and waited for the escape afterwards. After careful study, he thought of a way to crack it. However, he could clearly sense the aura of Lockhart. He was confident that Wanda could solve it alone. However, with Lockhart, it would be very different. Lockhart, if you are willing to be Vishanti's lackey, there are naturally people who don't want to be. David said directly without waiting for Strange to speak. We just want to break away from the shackles of the gods and avoid being controlled by them after death. Why does this make you angry? When you die, you will know what it means to have your soul controlled. Facing David's provocation, Lockhart looked calm. Of course, he knew that, after signing a contract with Vishanti, the ownership of the soul naturally belonged to Vishanti. However, he was not worried. He had the help of the system, the contract was directly blocked, and he could also get Vishanti's power for free. What about his students? With the wizard's bloodline, they have the ability to cast spells without signing a contract. They are from the Vincian world, and are basically not controlled by the gods. Therefore, he didn't care about David's words. Strange, how could it be you? Compared to Lockhart's indifference. When Wanda knew that the strange wizard in disguise was Strange, she was a little bit unbelievable. How could it be? Strange was trained by Kamar-Taj, and was also favored by the supreme sorcerer. How could he betray Since you all know, I won't hide it, Strange said, and at the same time his face gradually changed to return to his original appearance. I admit that Kamar-Taj treats me well, and the Sorcerer Supreme thinks highly of me. However, as a human being, what is the most important thing? Freedom. If possible, I will never let the so-called gods control my life. The mages of Kamar-Taj, to put it nicely, are called believers of the gods, and exist to protect the world. But to put it bluntly, aren't they just the watchdogs of Vishanti and Agamotto? Guarding the earth's property for them, and preventing other gods from encroaching. What's wrong? I tell you, the earth belongs to the people of earth, and has nothing to do with these gods. You, a group of slaves of Vishanti, have no right to say that to me. In my eyes, you people are the real traitors to the earth. The earth belongs to the people of earth. Chapter 625, when Grindelwald becomes a grandfather. Agamotto's watchdog. Vishanti's efforts. Earth traitor. Earth belongs to earthlings. David, who was standing by, couldn't help but clap his hands after hearing these extremely destructive words. Good fellow, he really underestimated this Strange. Originally, he thought that he was already very smart to shout out the slogan of pursuing freedom and getting rid of the shackles of the gods. As a result, this Strange could actually shout out this slogan and beat Kamar-Taj in the face of the evil god. Oh, he is indeed a genius. With such a good talent, his brain is also quite powerful. Wanda, who was on the opposite side, heard Strange's sarcastic words, opened her mouth, and was ready to say something, but in the end she didn't say it. In addition to being shocked, she also had a flash of doubt. She had dealt with Strange many times before. Why did he always feel that these words were not spoken by someone like Strange? This kind of persuasive slogan is really too confusing. If it was really what Strange said, then this Strange is definitely a scourge. If he doesn't die in the future, he will definitely be a big villain and a big boss. Thinking of this, Wanda's heart flashed with a trace of cruelty. In any case, the grass must be cut to the root, and Strange must die today. At this moment, after Strange finished speaking, his face was extremely calm, as if what he just said was well thought out and said. However, he was panicking in his heart, constantly rubbing the joints on his right hand, and magic power flowed into it. Teacher, if you say this, even if I'm an undercover, I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to survive in Kamar-Taj in the future. Strange said a little hurriedly. What are you afraid of? As long as you are brave, you can conquer the world with a broken bowl. Grindelwald, who was hidden in the space of the hanging ring, said directly. Don't forget, your identity has been revealed now, and you must gain David's trust. Otherwise, when you lose your usefulness, I'm afraid you won't be able to enter the circle of fallen wizards at all. You have ruined all the good cards that Lockhart has. I know. Strange said, but can we change the slogan? This slogan really makes people want to cut off their relationship with Kamar-Taj. I feel that any Kamar-Taj wizard will feel uncomfortable after hearing it, and will not have a good impression of me. What are you worried about? Lockhart handed you over to me, and I will be responsible for your safety. Grindelwald directly promised, do whatever I ask you to do, and finally send you back to the London Temple in glory. Maybe you will become a great hero. But, no buts, just do what I say. Now it's the situation. If you have any grievances, hold them in your heart, and act according to the plan next. Hearing Strange's aggrieved tone, he directly retorted. Fortunately, Strange is not his subordinate, otherwise he must let him know why the flowers are so red. Know the importance of being obedient and doing things. The words and slogans that Strange shouted just now, they are the essence of his thoughts after many reflections. He said without hesitation that, as long as he was strong enough, there was nothing wrong with restarting the stove and building another Kamar-Taj. As for the risks and impacts brought by these slogans, how could he not know? For the great interests. This is the concept he created, and then deduced a set of ideological systems. It directly triggered the global war in the wizarding world. This slogan is similar to the previous one. If it is not handled well, I'm afraid that the chaos will not be smaller than what he did before. Therefore, he needs to do a simple trial and error to check the market of this theory. The fallen wizard is not bad. In short, he will die in the end. Before he dies, do an experiment for him. After hearing it again, Lockhart on the opposite side couldn't help but sigh in his heart. When it comes to being a Dark Lord, Grindelwald is professional. It's only been a few months since he came to the new world. The other party has come up with this set of tempting reactionary slogans. If the original traveler became Grindelwald, I'm afraid that Kamar-Taj would be divided into two forces now. The thought flashed through his mind, but Lockhart's face remained calm. He uttered a few words lightly, glib-tongue. After the words fell, he waved his wand without saying anything. Avada Kedavra. In an instant, a dark green Kedavra curse shot towards Strange at lightning speed. This action, combined with the words just now, in David's eyes, it became Strange's words, which directly stimulated Lockhart. In an instant, his inner attention to Strange rose to a higher level. Seeing Lockhart's Kedavra curse, his fingers moved forward slightly, and in an instant, a barrier with a dark yellow light appeared in front of the two. Bang! The Kedavra curse was powerful, and after a sharp and piercing bang, a large number of cracks appeared in this defensive barrier in an instant. But fortunately, the defense was saved. Then the power of dusk flowed, and the cracks in the barrier quickly closed. Lockhart, I still call you a teacher, but I didn't expect you to sneak attack your students like this. You can't argue, so you just attack directly. You are really unworthy of being a teacher. Strange was panicking, but he still mocked Lockhart as Grindelwald requested. After finishing his mockery of Lockhart, he felt relieved. For some reason, he felt a little happy. He seemed to feel happy to scold Lockhart. Favor, regardless of Strange, Grindelwald, who was hiding in the ring, felt quite happy after hearing it. He was quite resistant to this task, but Lockhart took the previous contract as a token of authority and pretended to be the grandfather next to Strange. He was a generation of Dark Lords who dominated the wizarding world, but it seemed that he had taken on the responsibility of a nanny. It was too bad. However, there was no way. After all, Lockhart would be needed later, and a contract had been signed before. Nevertheless, he took this opportunity to scold him more. After hearing it, Lockhart raised his eyebrows, as if he knew Grindelwald's inner complaints. However, after hearing the words unworthy of being a teacher from Strange's mouth, he was still quite unhappy. Whether in his previous life or this life, he can be said to have many students all over the world. In his previous life, he was a university professor with many excellent students. In this life, as a professor of magic, his students are also very outstanding. As a result, he was provoked. Without hesitation, he waved the wand again. Suddenly, a large number of colorful blades appeared in the sky, and as the wand was waved, they shot towards David and Strange. It seemed that he was ready to kill them. David, on the opposite side, had an extremely bad relationship with Lockhart. It can be said that he has been suffering since Lockhart joined Kamar-Taj. This time, after hearing Strange's ridicule of Lockhart, David felt as if he had eaten ice cream in the dog days of summer. In one word, it was refreshing. Haha, Lockhart, it seems that you are really unworthy of being a teacher. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.